All right, so I am at my father's house with Early Brunner. And Early Brunner has a podcast called Recovery Demystified. Early Brunner's very hardcore. Early lives in Arkansas in a cabin in the woods. Mm-hmm. Early is a self-professed autistic recovering addict. What else do you profess?
I profess also that I'm highly queer.
Highly, not a little bit queer, but highly queer.
Extra queer.
Early has a toad on her on their hand. Let me see that. Let me see the toad.
Oh, not on my hand.
The toad's on your neck.
Toad's on my neck.
And it is not a Sonoran desert toad. It's just a toad.
No, it's an average toad. I could tell the toad story, but should we start with the toad story?
Well, last week I read an email about this woman who, while on meth, was looking for Sonoran desert toads outside and wound up killing a killing spree of toads while she's tweaking on meth using the word twacked.
No.
So let's hear your normal toad story. I hope I didn't destroy you with this sad.
Okay, I mean, it illustrates the point very well that we're all connected and that toads can save our lives if we let them. One of my besties was trying to quit drinking. It's not even a story about me, but one of my besties was trying to quit drinking, and she was in her bedroom just debating back and forth like, oh, I should go to the liquor store. No, I shouldn't. I should. No, I shouldn't. And finally she was like, fuck it. I'm going to go buy some booze. And she gets in her car, pulls out to the road in front of her house. And it was one of those days where the toads were like mating or something. And there was just like thousands of them covering the whole road. And she pulled up to the road and was like, yo, I don't think I can massacre thousands of toads just to go get fucked up tonight. So she turned around and went home, and it became like the toads are what is saving our lives type of shit. Just an illustration that everything is kind of connected, and sometimes like something as simple as a toad can be what gets you to quit. So I hope that person that was on meth and was all twacked out killing toads maybe can think about how the toads were present there to try to get her to quit.
I think she has quit, but Laura, if that's her name, I feel like her name is Laura J. If you're listening, please don't kill any more toads.
Yeah,
don't do math and don't kill toads.
Go pray to the toads. They're there to save you.
Now, Early, you sent in a very hardcore email about your wild and woolly past, hoboing, doing drugs, fucking the whole nine. Where did you grow up? What is your story?
I grew up in a little cow town in southeastern Wisconsin. Like, I guess I describe it usually in two ways, one of which is we had drive your tractor to school day. And then the other one is that the headline of my hometown newspaper one time was albino squirrel spotted in the graveyard. So that's how you know how fucking important my hometown was.
I don't think I've ever seen an albino squirrel. I was just in Wisconsin, though. I was not impressed. I mean, I feel like a jerk. I went to Madison, Wisconsin. It was very bleak. I expected it to be, I think in the summertime is the time.
You're blowing up.
But nobody will leave me alone.
Yeah, I mean, Wisconsin sucks in the wintertime. It's like ultimately why I moved away at some point. I was like, damn, wait, I'm an adult and I don't have to be cold anymore. Like, I better get the fuck out of here.
When's the first time you got high? When's the first time you knew you were a they?
When was the first time I knew I was a they? So that's like, I guess, kind of an important part of my childhood is that technically speaking, like from the outside, it looked like a really like nice, cushy, like Little House on the Prairie type of childhood. But then me and 4 out of 5 of my siblings grew up to be like really fucked up and like on a bunch of drugs and like destroying our lives. And then my brother somehow like hit the nail on the head. But I look back and I'm always like, what happened to it? Like, why did all of us end up so fucked up as kids? But when I was a kid, I like didn't know I was autistic and I didn't know I was queer, but I knew I was a fucking freak. And I experienced like really intense childhood rejection trauma. And I think that had like a pretty like severe message towards like my desire to get fucked up or whatever. But also it was like my parents had 5 kids that were like only a couple of years away from each other. So if you can imagine, I can't imagine parenting at all. But so my younger sisters were 2 newborns. I was 2 years old. My older brother was 4 and my older sister was 6. And you got to get like picked up and coddled a certain amount when you're a little kid or whatever. Your brain doesn't form correctly. And I think that had something to do with it too. Yeah, just having my parents having too many kids and not being able to pay attention to us. But I mean, we were middle class and lived out in a nice house in the woods, and it was just like we were playing in the sandbox and being all adorable and shit. So yeah, looking back, sometimes I'm like, it should have turned out better for all of us, but it really didn't. But I don't know. I just like, I always knew I was a fucking freak. Everyone else knew I was a fucking freak. And I guess I realized, the short answer is I think I realized that I was a they, like in my mid-20s at some point. But when I was a kid, I just knew I was weird, and everyone else knew I was fucking weird.
How do you know you're a freak first? Like what? Like I remember, I have a friend who's totally queer. I think she's a she. I haven't been friends with. I mean, like I went to elementary school and high school with her, and I sat with her in 6th grade, and she opened up her desk, and she goes, "Davey, I collect wasp heads and mold." And the fucking desk was full of insect heads. I was like, cool. I was like, she's a freak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I saw her at our like a 25-year reunion or something, and me and her were like as simpatico as you could ever be. So I know I'm relatively freaky in my normalcy, but like when you're a kid, like how does it come out at all?
It's like I would just try to be friends with people and get pretty just consistently rejected. Like, if you want to play therapist for a second, when I was in the 3rd grade, my friends, this is like so-called friends, had this game where they would try to like ditch me places. Like we would go to the bathroom.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we would get like go to the bathroom, and I would like go in the stall, and then they would all like giggle and sneak away, and I would come out and be like, I'm all alone, you know? So just shit like that over and over and over. And like being autistic, I didn't realize that some of the things I said weren't normal and would upset people. Like I've consistently upset people my entire life, not trying to, not feeling like a douchebag, but just sort of like saying things people don't think is very nice and not realizing it. And I would get like one time all of my supposed friends like wrote a letter that they all signed that was like, can you stop being mean to everyone? And I was like, I'm not mean. Like, I don't know what's going on. So yeah, I got a lot of clear signals that I was a freak, but didn't really know what was going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of like jokes around autism, like where people like, I mean, you just made a joke with me where you said, are you sure you're not autistic? You know, so there's a lot of that kind of stuff. But how do we define autism for anybody that doesn't know what it is? How do you get diagnosed with it? How does that work?
I mean, I guess I only got diagnosed like in my 30s because I needed disability accommodations at my job or whatever. But it's like there's a bunch of different overlapping symptoms that have to be consistent throughout your whole life. And it's like, social difficulties, problems with like sensory stuff. Like maybe some stuff seems way louder and way brighter to you than it does to other people. And then like obsessions, which is why I mentioned maybe you're autistic. I was like, you're doing this podcast 5 days a week. Are you sure you're not autistic? But yeah, just like you get really, really, really fucking obsessed with certain things, and it kind of takes over your life.
Yeah, I've had a lot of those actual what do you call them, symptoms or but I've never I my wife sometimes says that I'm slightly autistic. Like that's something that she uses when she really wants to hurt me. So when does drugs show up? Because it's like what you're talking about is something that I am a parent and I get very worried, like when like that game, leaving the kids out of the bathroom and I went to school in Manhattan, and I went to this crazy nerd school, and it was very hard to be totally abandoned because everybody was a fucking weirdo in my school. And I live in the suburbs of kind of like total fucking classic America shit. And there's bullies and there's popularity and there's all that stuff. And I would imagine if I had grown up in a situation like that, I would have been in trouble. So I mean, I'm also worried about drugs and stuff with my kids, but they seem to be on a decent path. When do you stumble into the world of drugs?
Yeah, it's all definitely very much connected. And I'll also mention we're going to do this whole interview without me making any eye contact.
I don't like that.
Contact. Cool.
I don't like that whatsoever. But
you think I'm being a freak for not looking at you?
I think you have you have your reasons.
Yeah, it's like with my sensory experience, it's like I can't.
It's too much to process.
Yeah, I can't both look at you and understand what you're saying at the same time.
Oh, then, and you are. Early is gazing out the window. This was my sister's room when we were kids, so her bed was along there.
Oh wow!
And if past this building and then past that is New Jersey, and we would watch the sunset over New Jersey as kids. So whenever I look out the window, I think about that.
Huh. Yeah, I'll be gazing out the window.
That's fine. Listen. As long as we stay connected, even if we're not looking at each other, I'm totally okay with it.
Cool. Yeah. So being a fucking freak and doing drugs and drinking is like extremely connected because I found out that doing drugs and drinking allowed me to have a social connection with other people. That and stealing too, which I just listened to one of your episodes where you're like, when did you get high for the first time? And the guy was like, stealing. And I was like, oh shit, I never thought of that. Like, theft has been an addiction throughout my life as well. But I was in the 4th grade, I think it was like 10 or something. And there was this girl that I was sort of friends with, and her parents were bikers and they drank and smoked and like were never really around. So I was over at her house and I do not remember why we did it, but we were like drinking the beer out of the fridge and trying to smoke her mom's cigarettes in the backyard. But we didn't know how to inhale, so we're just sitting there puffing on them and trying to drink the beer out of the fridge. It was Miller High Life, and it was so fucking gross. Like we couldn't choke it down, so we mixed it with Kool-Aid, which is really funny to look back on because
yuck.
Yeah, because we were 10 years old, right? And so of course we would rather drink Kool-Aid, but I don't know why we were sitting there trying to drink the beer. And then we took all the liquors and mixed them together and tried to drink that. And of course it was fucking gross and we couldn't do it. But I realized that day that trying to get fucked up with people let me have a friend, and I never forgot it after that.
Right. That's interesting in itself. Like where we develop these relationships while we get high. So it didn't work. You drank beer with Kool-Aid, which is very disgusting. You tried to put all of your liquors together, which is also disgusting. Mm-hmm. And when does it work? And I want to describe Early for a second, because Early's like a weirdo poet, radical revolutionary. And Early has tattoos of dragonflies on their neck and interesting tattoos on their hand. Slow walk, foot, path, dirt, road on fingers. And what's this big? What's this big? What's that one, Mom?
It just says no.
What's up with no in a heart?
No, it just says no.
What's in the heart?
Oh, that's Nona. That's the dog that bit my finger off.
Oh my goodness, Early's missing her fingertip. Early's missing a fingertip.
I was gonna say you're gonna learn about gender today.
I'm trying. I'm making an effort.
It's okay.
You can tell I'm making an effort.
Yes, I can tell you're making an effort. But yeah, a dog bit my finger off, ruined my day at the beach.
Wow.
Really ruined my day at the beach. But then I got her name tattooed on my finger because I forgive her.
Justice and forgiveness.
I forgive her.
And you forgive me for
yes, I forgive you.
Blowing gender words.
It's okay.
I'm just going to try to use the word early as much as possible. I think that's the easiest.
Am I your first friend who uses they them?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What an honor.
I have a ton of other types of friends, but no. I have a friend whose daughter is a they, them, and I use the daughter's name because it's easier for me to keep track of the pronouns.
Yeah.
And I just say the name.
Yeah.
And that works.
Yeah.
And for the dad, it was very hard to get accustomed to it because the daughter had been a she for so long and became a they, them. And I'm sure my friend was frustrated.
Yeah.
And then we all love his daughter so much that, you know, you want to do the right thing.
Yeah. And I feel like there's no reason for me to like be mean to people about it, you know? Like there's no reason to alienate people. It doesn't make them want to respect you more. But everyone's got to learn at some point, you know?
Well, I'm learning. I'm with you. I'm willing. I'm here. And I'm happy to learn. And I also I think it's important to open up the box. You know, we Dopey is not a diverse place at all. So I like it when we have the opportunity to have more diversity on the show. So you are welcome with open arms. What's the big bramble thing?
What are you looking at?
This one.
The word
Oh,
no?
it says no.
Yeah, it says no.
And then it says no, and then it says do that.
We could have an entire podcast tour of all of my fucked up tattoos. Yeah, the one that says no, I actually got before I went inpatient the second time, and it was like all shitty and peeling, and I was using little pads of butter to try to moisturize it in the psych ward.
Delicious.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I actually got high, I think was
You're
when
like, can we stop talking about
it's
my
okay.
tattoos now?
It's okay. I didn't realize I was going to be such a fucking freak here. I was like,
You're not I just think if nobody can see you,
Yeah.
it's cool to get like a picture.
yeah, totally.
I'm not trying to objectify you as freak at all. It's more like I want the story to like, you know, sensory story, whatever.
It's all good. It's just funny because it's like in my world, my story is like super average. And then when I was emailing about it and y'all were interested in it, I was like, oh, I forget sometimes that my story is not normal except to other punks. It's just like, oh yeah, everyone lived on a sailboat, you know?
I mean, I did. I spent years on a sailboat.
You
but
did?
No, I didn't.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
I'm just kidding.
Fuck you.
All right. So when's the first time you enjoyed getting high?
When I was like in middle school at some point, I smoked weed. Of course, you know, I went to DARE and I didn't see DARE as scary. I saw it as like I was doing fucking research. I was like, what do you mean? Like all this stuff can get you fucked up like that. And after that first time of drinking, it was like, and I realized I could have friends. It was like every time I was around a different substance, I was like, oh, like, let's go for that. Like, let's see what that'll make me feel like. And
what did DARE stand for again?
Drug Abuse Resistance Education, I think. Did you not have DARE?
I mean, I remember seeing the stickers and stuff, but we didn't do DARE in my school.
Okay.
But I remember that everyone wears a DARE shirt, ironically now. But I couldn't remember drugs are really exceptional. drug addiction really exists.
Yeah, I think it's Drug Abuse Resistance Education, if I remember right. But I was fucking doing my research when that shit came up. And then later, the first chance I got to smoke weed, I was like, what's that? Like, hand that over. But I literally physically didn't know how to use a lighter. And I didn't understand what inhaling was. And I had to be like coached because I was a kid. You know what I mean? So someone else lit the one hitter and someone else like described what inhaling meant. And that first time I didn't got high, but then I bought weed from someone and took it out in the backyard of my mom's house. And I was like, well, the first time didn't work. So like I just kept hitting it and hitting it and hitting it and hitting it. And it had some like lag time, but then all of a sudden it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I like fully dissociated. Like I remember being in front of a computer using like AOL Messenger or something like that to talk to one of my friends. And I saw myself leave my body and sit up in the corner of my bedroom looking down at myself typing on the computer. And I was like, holy shit, like it's fucking working. And I have to get off the computer now.
And that was bud?
That was just weed. Yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, I'm sure it was like this when you're a kid too, but like there's two kinds of weed. Swag and nugs, and swag was like the brick weed that was flat that had the seeds in it, and then nugs was like the round weed.
Nice weed.
Yeah, so I got nugs that time, and I was had like a fully completely dissociative experience.
And you were like 11 or something?
In middle school at some point. I think it was more like 12 or 13.
Right.
But
and then do you become a stoner in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I became a total fucking stoner. And then in high school, I started hanging out with my older cousin, and like she was a bad kid. So I was like sitting with the older kids on the back of the bus and being introduced to like more different kinds of drugs and drinking more, like having access to people that could by alcohol and then experiencing that social acceptance that I'd never had by hanging out with the freaks. And like me and my sisters in high school, we would drive there on the way to school and smoke weed out of an apple.
Yes.
And then eat the apple on the way into school because the cops would drive around the parking lot of our high school with drug sniffing dogs. So you couldn't keep like your weed or your weed pipe like in your car because the cops had nothing better to do in my hometown than try to bust high schoolers smoking weed.
It's funny because I got high smoking apples all the time, and I never ate the apple. It never even occurred to me. I don't think I ever talked to I never talked to a they them on the show, and I don't think I ever talked to anyone who ate the apple after they smoked out of it.
Oh my gosh, Dopey first. Yeah, I mean, you got to destroy the evidence.
But what about the core? The core has to stink of weed. You're not eating the core.
I don't remember what we did with the core.
You're like, we were such freaks, we ate the core.
Perhaps.
we were so hardcore, we ate the core.
Perhaps. It's fuzzy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like, and when does the punk world open up? Like, I guess you're a freak, and it's like, do you start finding books and art and movies and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, in high school, back then we had, it was like Napster and LimeWire and stuff like that for music. Yeah. So I remember, I mean, you know, the gateway drugs to punk rock are like Green Day and Blink-182. And then you kind of go further and further down this rabbit hole. And I remember being on LimeWire and downloading this song by Os Rotten called Fuck Nazi Sympathy and listening to that being like, holy fucking shit. Like, this is music. Oh my God. And then, also around the same time in high school, I saw a flyer posted inside of a bathroom stall that was like, join the Save the World Club, Amnesty International. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And then I started learning through that about all of like the crazy fucked up shit that's going on in the world. And then the two like very much overlap, like the way that punks view the solution to all of the fucked up shit in the world. And all of its existence in the first place.
That's one of the most fun, weird overlaps that exists. Like when you find some weird radical music and then the other stuff opens up. I remember when I was a kid, because in New York in the 80s and early 90s, there was a lot of crossover between music, and they used to do a free show every year, Rock Against Racism. Mm-hmm. And the bands would be across the spectrum. There'd be punk rock bands, there'd be hardcore bands, there'd be hip hop groups, reggae groups, rock and roll groups. And I remember there was like an ibogaine tent. And I was like, what's ibogaine? And like back then, like the hippies and the punk rockers in Manhattan, like definitely crossed paths. And if you were looking, everything opened up, like all these ideas, all this injustice, and then all these drugs. Mm-hmm. But it's very hard to fight injustice when you're really high on drugs.
Yeah, man, one of my biggest gripes with punks is like, we're out here deconstructing the concept of everything and trying to rebuild a new world that's based on like the fucking opposite of all the bullshit that already exists. The one thing that it seems like we fall exactly in line, like it's like, we're just like all the frat dudes and everyone else, is like the fetishization of getting fucked up. The only thing that's like the opposite with punks about the fetishization of getting fucked up is like the more hardcore you are, the cooler you are. Like if you are the IV heroin user, you're like, you're upper crust. You know what I mean?
Of the crust, you're the upper section of the crust.
And I'm like, it's the same thing like what you were just saying. It's like when we're all fucked up, or when we're buying into all the bullshit like the alcohol industrial complex is trying to sell us, we can't do the work that we want to do to try to make the world a better place.
Well, that's like that kind of weird circle, like where you start using, it doesn't destroy you. It gives you some energy. It gives you some insight, and you can do a lot of cool shit. And that lasts for, I don't know, a couple weeks, maybe, maybe like a couple months. And then if you keep, and also I wanted to go into the idea of fetishizing getting fucked up versus getting fucked up. Like, what is that?
When I got older and got to know punks that were doing like more hardcore drugs than just drinking and smoking weed, it was like they were the cool ones. It was like the cool kids are the ones smoking crack and shooting up heroin. And they were like they were the new popular kids. So that's like what fetishizing, I guess, means. It's like saying that doing this thing like is great and makes you cooler than the people that are just drinking and smoking weed.
It's funny because like it's like if you go back in time, the fetishization, if that's a word, is there people are fetishizing like Keith Richards or Johnny Thunder or Topper Headon from The Clash or whatever, and those were all the heroin addicts, and you were like, oh my God, they're so cool, whatever, and you're fetishizing it until you actually do the heroin, and then you're just on heroin.
Yeah.
And the fetishization is gone, and instead it's replaced with oblivion. You know, like then you're addicted to heroin, basically. Yeah. What was I going to say? I have a friend who is a radical punk rock guy, and he wrote a book. He started a movement to help, I want to say, borderline and bipolar people. It's called the Icarus Project.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of Sasha DeBrule?
I guess I don't know the person, but I've heard of the Icarus Project.
I want to connect
radical mental health.
I want to connect you with Sasha because I think like that would be a thing. I think you both would get a lot out of that.
Hell yeah.
It would be very interesting. Anyway, back to the story.
Yeah.
So you're smoking weed, you're drinking, you're finding that Nazi song is an anti-Nazi song, I should know. Okay. Yeah. Not a pro-Nazi.
No.
What about pro-Nazi punks? What about them?
I mean, those exist. There's like Nazi skinheads or whatever, but I never really encountered too many of them because the world that I was in is the exact opposite of that, you know?
Yes. I mean, when I played in ska bands as a kid, and the peaceful skinheads wanted to kill all of us, and then the Nazi skinheads were even scarier. But the peaceful skinheads were very violent too in New York. If you weren't a skinhead, they wanted to beat the fuck out of you in New York.
Oh my God! Yeah, I never was really around any racist punks or whatever, but I know they exist.
Dude,
but
these were the skinheads against racial prejudice that would beat us up.
What?
That's how pussy we were. The skinheads against racial prejudice would beat us. So you're starting to get older. You're getting comfortable. You're finding your people, and then what happens?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting with substances, and a lot of people, especially me in high school, it's like I found the acceptance, and then pretty soon after that, my use of substances caused social rejection. Like I was born without the off switch, you know? Like I never was someone who could control anything. I was like, oh, I like this, and I want more and more and more and more and more. And by like the middle of high school, I was, getting kicked out of parties for being the crazy drunk one, breaking bottles in the street, and drinking in the morning. And yeah, I mean, I had some friends that like didn't reject me, but I think that they thought that a lot of shit fucking sucked or whatever. But it was a small town, and we had like nothing interesting to do, and we would do what we called going on a roadie, which meant driving around in our cars on the countryside and smoking weed. And yeah, I mean, the drinking is like I was blacking out, and like I was that friend that people had to like shake and wake up at like 9 p.m. on the floor to be like, bro, you're like blacked out and passed out again. And then I would have to get like shoveled into the car and delivered back home like with one shoe on. That all happened pretty quick. And I also remember a time in high school when I was like so hungover in the morning that I was like in my pajamas at school, and I had to be like excused from class, and I barely made it to the bathroom before I was like projectile vomiting all over the entire bathroom. And I feel horrible because fucking somebody had to go clean that up. But yeah, it just spun out like really, really, really fucking fast.
And how's your family dealing with you?
How is my family dealing with me? I mean, trying to like place myself back there. I mean, I remember my older sister found like a weed pipe in my coat because I didn't realize how bad that it stunk, and she like stole it out of there and, scolded me about it. And then when I was getting towards the end of high school, I started like acting out really, really bad and like running away and stuff. And my parents are like afraid for me and sending the cops out after me when I'm running away in my small hometown. And it was weird because it's like I'm super smart and I was like really good at sports. So I would be like on the varsity sports teams and like getting really good grades. And then I was like also fucking off and like pissing off all the adults. So I'd be like in detention every day. So, I mean, it was just kind of, it was like a lot of things all at once. And I was all fucked up. And then my little sisters were all fucked up too. And honestly, like they took the cake on that shit. So I think that my parents a lot of times were more focused on my younger twin sisters who would be like sitting on the curb in the middle of the day in our hometown drinking vodka out of water bottles. You know what I mean?
So you could like hide out.
Yeah.
Because you were just the weirdo.
Yeah, and I was still getting good grades and, you know, I wasn't fucking pregnant yet or whatever. Like, my little sisters, bless them. Yeah,
but you were like nerdy, athlete, punk rock, weirdo, and you could hide out in your activities.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, there was times like when the cops would show up to a party and I'd get in trouble or whatever. But yeah, I was like still doing all right enough in high school that, that I wasn't blowing it up too bad then.
So you graduate and everything?
I graduated high school, and then I enrolled in one semester of college at the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. And that was when shit started to like go super crazy and fall apart. Like, I fucking hated being a kid. I hated being told what to do. I felt super trapped. I was like, let me get the fuck out of here and have control over my own life, like counting the days till I could be an adult. And then when I was out of the house and living in Milwaukee, it just like the whole filter was off and everything just like completely fucking spun out of control.
What happened?
I mean,
and do you feel comfortable and safe in this place? Do you feel okay? I feel like I objectified you and I feel badly about it. So please know that was not my intention.
No, I feel comfortable and safe. It's all good.
You know what I'm saying.
I know.
I don't want to put you in that situation at all.
Yeah, you're good. I'm just, you know. I'm just your first autistic they them friend, so we're gonna by the end of this we'll be besties. It's chill.
All right, good, perfect. So what happens in Milwaukee? You know, Milwaukee is where Laverne and Shirley took place. I don't know if you know about Laverne and Shirley.
Is that just an old TV show?
Yeah, but keep going. Laverne and Shirley, Happy Days. So I had spent a lot of time in Milwaukee as a kid. What happened to you in Milwaukee at University of Wisconsin?
Yeah, it was like the whole entire filter just came off. I was like, my favorite movie was Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So I was like, that was Hunter Thompson was like my fucking idol or something. And I was like, I just want to be like that dude. Like I want to be a fucking weird artist who can get fucked up all the time and still like be successful or something.
Yeah.
But that's not a real story.
It is. It worked for him. It worked for William Burroughs. It worked for a bunch of people. It just didn't work for us.
Yeah. I mean, by the end of the year in Milwaukee, it was like, it was like I basically nearly got evicted, dropped out, and could barely keep a job for a few weeks. Here's something that people never fucking talk about on recovery podcasts, which is huffing shit. Why do people never talk about huffing shit?
We had this woman, she was a writer and she's like a model, and she came up huffing glue hardcore. Mm-hmm. And I think she was the first Brazilian model I ever had on the show that huffed glue. So what was your huffing situation?
I started huffing whippets, and I don't remember the first time I did it, and I don't remember why, but I just remember it like hitting and me being like, oh my God, this is like the best fucking feeling I've had in my life. And you know, it only lasts like 30 seconds. So you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And I would huff whippets in this way that I don't think other people do because I'm so extra, which is I would like fill one of those like really thick balloons, like one of those big thick balloons.
Punching balloons?
Yes, with it. And instead of just inhaling it once, I would like breathe in and out of the balloon until I literally passed the fuck out. And I would wake up like semi-conscious, like chewing the balloon.
Oh man, I love nitrous. I don't think you're the only person that did that either. I feel like that's something I definitely did.
Okay.
Although I don't know that I ever passed out with it. I love nitrous. Did you huff any other inhalants at that time, or was it just a whippet thing?
Not at that time. I was just huffing whippets at that time. I was spending a fuck ton of money on it. This is before you could like order whatever you wanted in the mail. So I would like go around the corner to the head shop and buy them at the head shop. And that shit was fucking expensive. And I could like not fucking keep a job at that time.
Was it like the cracker? Like the little canisters with the cracker? Yeah, those are the good old days.
Yeah.
Now they sell like full tanks in every fucking corner store. It's a different thing.
Yeah, they've got like some kind of like super nitrous now. I forget what the youngsters call it, but
I don't understand how, like, when I was a kid, the nitrous only came in those horrible little portions, unless you were somehow related to a dentist or on like Grateful Dead tour. But like, I would have loved these tanks that they sell now, but you couldn't get it. People are stealing tanks from dentists or whatever. It's like, how does that happen? How does that become a positive change for harm reduction that you can buy nitrous whenever you want?
I don't know. I would have died if that was the case. It's good that there's some sort of like self-limiting factor. The first job I got in Milwaukee was kind of crazy. It was literally just at like a sandwich shop, but it was on the corner of this sort of like semi-main intersection. And I remember when I got hired, the manager was like, so you know what to do when we get robbed, right? And I was like, robbed? Like, I came from a tiny little town, super sheltered. I had cows for neighbors. And I was like, what do you mean? What do we do when we get robbed? He goes, you just give them whatever they want. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like, I don't have to like defend the sandwiches.
The worst part is it's not if you get robbed. It's
when we get robbed.
So did you get robbed?
The few months that I worked there, every single other store on that intersection got robbed. But while I worked there, we did not get robbed. But while I did work there, I learned how to make trades with the guys at the liquor store where they would give us like little flasks of whatever liquor we wanted, and we would give them free sandwiches. And I was only 18, and they just never asked me how old I was. So after being able to trade with those guys at the liquor store, kitty corner from us, then I just started walking in and buying alcohol. And yeah, it was just kind of fucked after that, because when you have to ask a 21-year-old to buy for you, you at least have like a filter to go through. And when you can walk your own 18-year-old happy ass into the liquor store, then it's over. And
basically you start drinking real heavy at the time.
Yeah, I was just basically on like a bender forever. Like, I would wake up in the morning and I would get the handles of Heaven Hill, and it was $10.55 for a handle of Heaven Hill. And I just always had a handle of Heaven Hill on me. And I started after that sandwich shop. I went and got a job at Jimmy John's, another sandwich shop. And I would work there. I would work the night shift. So from like 10 p.m. till 4 a.m. or something like that. And it was in the wintertime in Milwaukee, and I never saw the sunlight. Like, I would just wake up after dark and drink and then go to that job. And that job was crazy with people doing drugs. There was like, the delivery drivers would be like either on pills or coke. And then the people working in the store were always drinking. There was this one girl that was like, do you know the kind of raver girl that has like fake dread ropes tied into her hair? You ever met someone like that?
I don't think I've ever met anybody like that, but I've seen them. I know what they look like.
Yeah. She worked there, and she was on acid all the time, just like working at the Jimmy John's. But when I started working there, I was like, holy shit, like everyone's all fucked up all the time. We were all partying after work. And yeah, I like stopped seeing the sunlight and was just drinking Heaven Hill.
That sounds like quite a scene.
Yeah.
Or did you start doing drugs with all those people?
I did not do drugs with all those people. Actually, didn't start doing drugs till I moved away and was living in Florida. But before that, I moved. The first time I ever tried to quit drinking was when I lived in Wisconsin when I was 18. I just like woke up, like I had burned through so many jobs. So many people hated me. I was nearly evicted. I dropped out of college, and I was like, fuck, I feel like such fucking shit. Like, I just want to quit drinking. And I woke up in the morning and had that feeling for the first time. And then, later that night, I was like, I can't stand how uncomfortable I feel, and I'm just going to drink.
I think that's interesting, because you had a sense that you were like, fuck, I might be an alcoholic. Like, this is a problem. And like, it's funny because I remember I only tried to stop doing drugs one time, and I stopped. I mean, I think I kept smoking weed, but I stopped doing heroin for a few months, and then I never stopped again. But I feel like when we stop, it plants this seed in our head, like, this is probably something I need to get back to. Like, it's like almost like a bookmark in your head. Like, and probably when you were like, maybe I shouldn't be drinking, it was like, okay. And then you drank that day. But it creates this weird indent, I think, in the story. So what made you leave was Milwaukee?
I was in a blackout or nearly in a blackout one night. And I was like, if I stay here any longer, I'm going to die or kill myself. So I just need to get the fuck out of here. And I realized I didn't have to be cold anymore. Someone I worked with at Jimmy John's lived in Texas or previously. And I was like, what's that like? And then he was like, oh, it's chill. So all fucked up one night, I was like, I'm going to move to Austin. And then I don't know, a few months later, I just did it. I moved to Austin and I didn't know anyone there. I had no reason to go there besides like I didn't want to be cold anymore.
And you dropped out of school?
I dropped out of school before that. I just was in school for one semester and I failed out of everything because I was just
Wasted.
fucked up. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what do you do in Texas?
I've got a job at Jimmy John's. I was like, hey, I know how to work here. And they're like, all right, you can work here. And I was like, okay, chill. And for a minute, I was like trying to quit drinking there too. And then, of course, like the people I worked with were like, oh, well, we all go out on Tuesdays and we go to this bar down the street. And I was like 19 then. And I was like, okay, well, I want to be friends with people. So they got me into the bar underage and I started only drinking on Tuesdays.
Tuesday night.
Yeah, only drinking on Tuesdays. But then, of course, like actually like spun out really bad. Of course, I couldn't only drink on Tuesdays. And when I was living in Texas was when I had my first alcohol-induced psychosis, but I didn't know that was what was happening at the time. I also had this really fucked up work schedule where I would work sometimes during the day and sometimes overnight. I was like a greeter type of person at a tattoo shop in Austin. And that was like an overnight job. And then the Jimmy John's was a daytime job. And I think something with like not really having a normal sleeping schedule and drinking constantly made me just totally lose my mind. I thought that when I was riding my bike around, I thought that the cops were all following me on my bike. And I don't remember what I thought the cops would be following me like for, like what the reason was, but I was like, oh my God, there's another cop behind me. Like they're following me on my bike. And I was like super paranoid and felt really fucking weird. Oh, and I thought in Austin, there's like these birds called grackles. They're like blackbirds and they live in like colonies of like hundreds or thousands or something. And they're really fucking loud. And I was like, the birds are all looking at me and they're laughing at me. The birds are all fucking laughing at me because I don't remember why I thought that, but those are like the two main like delusions that I had.
How does psychosis, like how do you recognize it?
I think just being like completely out of touch with reality and being like super like paranoid, paranoid about shit that's like not fucking real. Like there's cops driving around the town because cops drive around. Right. You know what I mean? They're not following me on my bike.
There's grackles in the trees because that's where they live.
And they sound like they're laughing, but they're not laughing at me.
Well, that's why they're called grackles because it sounds like cackle somehow.
Is that right?
I don't know. I just made that up. Austin was a good arty punk rock weirdo town though. Mm-hmm. Did you like that?
Yeah, I love that. And when I lived there, I also met like traveling punks. So it was when I started traveling, which was pretty cool. And I met my bestie at Jimmy John's there. Of course, the theme of my life. And we left Austin.
You're very devoted to Jimmy John's.
Wow.
That's the most unlikely piece of this story.
It's so weird. And get this, later when I moved to Florida, I work at Jimmy John's too. I don't know, dude. Maybe it's autism.
I think we went to Jimmy John's for the first time when my family traveled out west and we went there. I didn't think it was that great.
It's not good. It's terrible. It's very bad food. I just knew how to work there and it was an easy job. So that was where you found me.
How punk rock were you at this point?
I was still like introductory to punk rock at this point. I was like going to shows. I was like volunteering at the Bicycle Collective and like trading my time for a free bike. I was learning about anarchism and like we would do this thing in Austin. It actually exists all over the country, but it's called critical mass. And it's when like hundreds of bicyclists every Friday afternoon will go like take over certain main roads in cities and like block the rush hour traffic, which is like sort of rude, but also kind of funny. It's just like drawing attention to, I don't know, cars and pollution or something. But I got definitely way more into punk and anarchism and stuff like that when I left to go ride trains and hitchhike with that friend that I met at Jimmy John's. And he was sober or like nearly sober. he wasn't like all fucked up or whatever. So he was like a really good influence on me. But we left Austin. It was funny. The first train that we tried to get on.
How does it even come up that you're going to jump on a train?
I mean, it's like, it's just in the subculture. Like it's a thing people do.
Do they still do it?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell me everything.
I can't tell you everything because I'd be blowing up the spot.
Tell me as much as you can. Tell me, please.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, I remember seeing in a punk house, one of my first summers traveling, this like piece of art that someone put on the wall that said, everything is free if you want it to be. And that's sort of like the ethos of punks. It's like we steal shit because it belongs to us, and we hitchhike and ride freight trains because it means we can see the whole world and not have to like spend our lives at some fucking corporate desk job or whatever. It's like you can just be free if you want to be. You can just start right now, you know?
Versus like selling your time.
Yeah.
Selling your life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like
how do you hop your first train?
The first train, we sat under a bridge in Austin and waited fucking forever for a train to get there. And then finally it did. And we hopped in a boxcar. And my buddy that I was with was like, oh, I have to shit before we go. And I was like, man, can't we just like, let's like, we're going to get caught. Like, what do you mean you got to go shit before we go? So he shat like, I forget, it was like in a bag or on something that was like a fucking Frisbee or something like that.
Horrible.
And then he threw it off the train. And when he was throwing his shit off the train, some like yard workers saw us, and we went and got pulled off the train, so we never even got to ride it. But yeah, then we hitchhiked. I forget where we hitchiked to. Somewhere that we weren't just busted. We went and hitchhiked somewhere that we weren't just busted, and then got on a different train. And it was just crazy, like the feeling. If you're talking about getting high, the fucking feeling of being on a freight train and hearing it air up and starting to roll down the tracks is like the most euphoric shit ever. You're like, oh my God, we're fucking doing it. This thing is moving and we're doing it. And it goes through like all the landscapes of the background, like the seedy, you know, industrial places in the United States that you never get to see. As a normal person, you only get to see this weird shit if you ride a train.
You ever get high while the train starts though? Have you ever shot meth while the train starts pulling out of it? That's probably the greatest high.
Oh my God. I only ever got fucked up on a train once, and I was just drinking, and the people that I was with looked down on me so hard for doing that. They're like, we don't get fucked up on trains. There is definitely an entire other culture of people that do, but the people I was rolling with at the time like shamed me so hard. And the main person I was traveling with didn't drink, so it was like one of my phases of like
straight edge.
Yeah, I was never straight edge, but
is it just train punks? Is there a good term for them?
Well, I mean, within train punks, there's like a bunch of other different like subcultures of it. I mean, I guess the umbrella term for me and most of my friends is crust punk. But then there's like oogles, and oogles are like the loud, obnoxious, drunk, fucked up ones that are like blowing up the spot.
But aren't the crust punks just on the street with their dog Durbin and their girlfriend Sierra? They're not. They're on the trains.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the kids that you see sitting on the
St.
corner
Mark's
or
Place?
whatever. Yeah, I mean, those people are on trains sometimes, you know, and then they're sitting there like flying a sign or whatever other times.
I gave 2 crust punks some sandwiches from Katz's yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I hook up the crusties whenever I can. So you're riding out of Austin with your non-alcoholic friend. When does the drug addiction smash you? What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, when I was 18, that whole planting the seed thing, I described myself as quitting drinking and drugs for 13 years or whatever. So it fucking went back and forth a whole bunch. But I guess, yeah, I spent a couple of years in Austin, and then I learned how to start riding trains and traveling, and the whole world opened up to me. And
what's the furthest you rode on a train?
I mean, I think it was like 2014 or something. I rode coast to coast in Canada.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I've been to 49 states. The only one you can't ride a train to is Hawaii.
So you rode a train to Alaska?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yep. Yeah. Coast to coast in Canada, and then ended up in Alaska. But
a lot of crusties up in Alaska?
A lot of grizzly bears up in Alaska. There's oh my god, there's a lot of people on meth up in Alaska. I was in Juneau, and I was like in a tent behind an abandoned building, and it was like that time of year in Alaska when it's like the sun is up like 22 hours a day or something. So it was like 3 a.m. and there was some dude on meth like shaking my tent, and I had to be like, bro, can I help you? Like, I'm in here. I have pit bull, you know, like, what do you want? And he was like, oh shit, I didn't know someone was in there. And I was like, get away. Like, and he's like, what, do you have a lighter? And I was like, I don't have a fucking lighter. Like, get away from me. Yeah.
What, if you're a crust punk and you have a dog, what's the likelihood that the dog is a pit bull? Was that the dog of choice amongst
90%.
90%. And when do hard drugs pop into your life?
When I moved to Florida. So eventually I came back from traveling, kind of got sick of Austin, broke up with my partner, and some of the punks that I'd been traveling with were like, oh, we live in Gainesville. And I was like, what's that about? And they're like, oh, it's chill. Like, you should come.
It's warm.
Yeah. And so I was like, fuck it. I will. I'll go there. And, but you know, I was like, how the fuck am I going to move? Like, I'd only ever moved once in my life, and it just felt like, I was at the point where, everything is free if you want it to be. So I ended up getting a ride with these like punks that were on tour. And I just like had one little trunk of bullshit, and I put it in their tour van, and we went to New Orleans, and then we went to Gainesville and met up with a different punk. And then that punk took my stuff and brought me to this street that I don't know if it's like this in Gainesville anymore, but we used to call it the Block. And the Block was an entire block where every house is a punk house.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's quite a robust punk scene in Gainesville. What was the band?
Oh, I don't remember.
That's awesome.
Too long ago. Too fucking long ago. But thank you, whoever that was, letting me in your van.
I'm sure they're listening right now.
Right now.
So Gainesville, the Block, what's the scene like there?
Yeah, I mean, had been sober for a month when I moved there, and it was like one of those phases where I was like, oh, I'm getting my life together. It's going to be really great. And then I moved there, and everyone's all fucked up, and it just like, it triggers me, and I'm at some keg party, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just have one to fit in, And of course, by the end of the night, I'm like passed out on the ground, and I need to get like picked up and delivered back to the house that I was staying in. But in Gainesville is where I started to meet people that were like huffing poppers. So that came back into the picture. And then I started meeting people that were like smoking crack and like doing heroin and all sorts of stuff like that. And I just, Wait,
hold up though. Before we were huffing nitrous, we didn't talk about poppers at all.
Yeah. I mean, poppers are new in Florida. That was just like the huffing.
I never did a popper. In Wisconsin, were there poppers?
Maybe, but it wasn't on the menu.
And in Austin, neither.
No, I think all I did in Austin was drink.
So what are the poppers like, and how do you do them?
It's basically the same feeling as Whippets, but instead of inhaling it like in a balloon, you have a tiny little bottle, and you put it up to your nose, and you can like shut one nostril and just sort of like inhale through your nose until you start feeling high. We called it lava face. It like makes your face feel like there's a waterfall of heat just going over it. And then you get that like wompy sort of Whippet type of feeling.
I always imagined that poppers were more uppy though. No?
I don't know. I mean, it's popular in the gay community because it's supposed to like loosen your butthole or whatever. But to me, it's like all the inhalants just kind of feel the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you fall, and you start smoking crack at that point?
Not right in the beginning. In the beginning, I was just drinking and huffing poppers, but then it's like the punk community all across Florida is like pretty tight. So I started getting offers to like go hang out in Miami. And I would just like jump in a van and be like, okay, yeah, let's go to the punk fest down in Miami. And then kids down there were hardcore. Because Miami's, it's chock full of really fucking strong drugs. And when I was down there, it was like, I had major curiosity with what people were doing, smoking crack, for sure.
So that was like you were in your fetishizing phase before you were in your using phase.
Yeah, I mean, it was like that was what the cool kids were doing. And, I loved getting fucked up. And yeah, the first chance I got where someone who I knew and trusted was like, you want to smoke crack? I was like, fucking, of course I do.
How old do you think you were?
21.
And what do you remember about it?
I remember being at this punk house in Florida and being like tucked behind a billboard tarp that was for Bacardi. And I don't know why there's a billboard tarp for Bacardi like draped over the side of this punk house, but it was like me and my best friend tucked behind it, smoking crack for hours. And I was like, do you want to hear every memory that I can remember, starting at my very first memory from when I was a little kid? And I'll tell you every memory I've ever had. Do you want to hear that?
And they were like, yes. Yeah. Let me hit this first.
Yeah. You know, so then we contemplated the orb or whatever for a few hours and just talked and talked and talked. And yeah, after that, when I'd hang out in Miami, we would like go behind this sketchy gas station and like pick up some like home bum and be like, yo, if we give you the money, like, will you go get the drugs? And then you can ride around in the car with us and we'll like smoke crack with you.
What's a home bum?
A home bum is just what punks call homeless people.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they want to ride in the car and smoke crack because otherwise they'd just be on the street not smoking crack.
Yeah. It's like.
So why do you need them? They have the crack connection, the home bum?
I guess. Yeah, that's what we were doing at that time. Yeah. Just going to like the sketchy gas station, finding a home bum and being like, here, we'll give you the money if you hang out and smoke with us or whatever.
Do you think that they get the home word to make them better than just bums? They're home bums instead of just bums.
I don't know. It's just what we call them.
All right. So
I don't know if it's like more or less humanizing.
I think it's more humanizing because they're not just bums; they're home bums.
They're home bums.
But they're never home.
Maybe the gas station feels like home.
I'm sure it does. So you'd ride around Miami. I remember I once went to treatment in Delray, and I got a job working for like a furniture delivery store, and we had to go down to Miami to pick up a sheet of glass for a table, and we had to go to Opelika. You ever heard of Opelika?
No.
And I guess there's a lot of heroin in Opelika, and me and the guy who drove the truck were heroin addicts. And we were like, a lot of heroin in Opelika. And we made the trip without getting heroin, but I always think of it. So like in Miami, you're mostly just smoking crack and riding around with bums and hanging out with the Bacardi, the home bums and the Bacardi tarp, and just getting a feel for crack.
Yeah, and like getting fucking weird. Like I was always drunk too. Like I never just smoked crack, but I would like.
Right.
Yeah, there's this liquor store behind fucking bulletproof plate glass, and it felt like, I don't know, some movie from the 90s or something like that, but it would be like some dude behind the counter like watching like a boob tube TV with like a big fucking Glock set on the top of it, like, don't fucking rob this liquor store. So we'd always go to that liquor store and then go to the sketchy gas station, try to find crack. And I remember being like super high, and my friends telling me this story about how the local gas station attendant was racist to them, and I was like, fuck that guy. And the local gas station attendant, who was allegedly racist to my friends, also kept this like blow up doll in his car to make it look like there was someone in his car so people wouldn't break in or something. I don't know.
But so he could carpool.
Or that, something. But I was like, man, fuck that guy. I'm going to go pop his blow-up doll. That's it. I'm going to fucking get in his car and I'm going to fucking pop his fucking blow-up doll. Because I was high and that was my mission. And then I'm like marching down to the gas station all like self-inflated and high as fuck. And I go to like yank on the handles of his door, and obviously it's locked. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to break this guy's window to pop his blow-up doll. But then I just like whipped out this Leatherman, which is like a multi-tool that I had.
I'm familiar with Leatherman.
Yeah, and it has like the world's tiniest screwdriver on it. And I just popped that out and I like slammed it into one of his tires, and I was like, I'm not gonna pop his blow up doll, I'm gonna pop his fucking tire. And then I don't know, I felt all self-righteous about my weird anti-racist crack rock tirade, and then went back to my friend's house. There's a different time too where like we would party a bunch and like always have a bottle of poppers and a bottle of fake blood in the bathroom. So people would like go to the bathroom and like huff the poppers and then like decorate themselves with fake blood. And then all of a sudden everyone at the party's like covered in fake blood. And I remember being like drunk as fuck, huffing poppers, covering my face in fake blood, and then going out and trying to like buy some crack or whatever. And I definitely got robbed that time. I think someone was like, look at this fucking like psychotic, like white freak. I think it was only like 10 or $20 or something, but they definitely like left and never came back.
Why is there fake blood around the house?
I don't know. It was just a
They're
thing.
like actors. They were actors and they decided to become crust punk crackheads, so they mixed it all up.
Bro, it was just a thing. I don't know why we did it, but we're just like, ah, ha, ha, here we're all at the party. We're all fucked up and we're all covered in fake blood. Like, it was just a thing for a minute.
I feel like that's next level. That's when you know that the drug use is getting to the next level, when theatrical fake blood is somehow part of the routine.
Oh my God. Some point during this time too, me and my bestie, the one from the Bacardi Tarp crack rock moment, we decided we were going to go travel in Europe. And I mean, back then it was like you could buy a round trip ticket for like $200 or something. So you could buy it with your Jimmy John's paycheck. But we went to Europe and we're just like, you know, picking lice out of each other's hair and drinking by the canal and hitchhiking. And we got picked up by these people who I think like mostly spoke French and barely spoke English. And they're like, we make techno party. And you're like, you do fucking what? They're like, we make techno party. You want to go? And we had to like get out of the car and like talk to me like, do we want to go with this random dude to this fucking like techno party in Europe? And we decided that yes, we did. And so he takes us home to his house, and then it's like nighttime, and his girlfriend is out in the garden with like a headlamp, like gardening at nighttime with a headlamp.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is suspicious behavior. Most of the people I know don't like garden at nighttime with a flashlight or whatever. But we just, you know, chilled and let her do her thing. And then they took us to this techno party, which was...
I love you get high on crack and get wasted with fake blood all over your head. And this poor lady is fucking gardening with a headlamp. And you're like, what's up with her?
I mean, you know, fucking somebody that's fucked up when you see like you can clock the behavior.
There's something peculiar about the night gardening. Anyway,
Yes.
back to that story. Yes.
So we got to the techno party that they're setting up, and it was like off grid in the Pyrenees Mountains, which is like the border of Spain and France.
Amazing.
And I guess back in the day in Europe, when they would throw raves, they would, I think social media existed, but they didn't like promote stuff like that. It was like you would get a phone number and you had to call the secret phone number at the right time. And then if you called the secret phone number at the right time, it told you the location of the party. And that worked well enough that like hundreds of people would show up. So they had like generators and, like that thumping sort of like raver music for days on end. And in order to like pay our way at and they like block off the roads and don't let the cops in. They're like super hardcore in Europe. They like everyone's squatting, and they're just like squatting really nice houses, and they're all just like running their own show, and they don't let people fuck with them. But the raver scene in Europe is like, there's like a division between the ketamine people and the speed people. Like they both think that the other one's drug is evil, but they're all like hanging out at the same raves, listening to the same music. And we were with the speed people, obviously night gardening. But we paid our way into the rave with them by like being their bartenders for a night. And so I was behind the bar with access to free alcohol. And I guess at some point my friend turned around and said that I'd turned into a pile of rocks because I was like laying on the ground, just like covered in dust. And when I woke up in the morning, I was still on the ground covered in dust, and my like fanny pack was open and my passport was like out on the ground, and it was like massively sketchy. But I definitely experimented with whatever the European ravers call speed. And I'm like, I don't know what speed would be for us
I bet it's meth.
if it's meth or whatever it is. And then I went to the other side and experimented with the ketamine people as well. I would say ketamine's fucking scary. Have you ever done ketamine?
I a couple of times, not nearly as much as I think I should have done. Tell me your experience, and then why weren't there a lot of like, I would be a ketamine at speed person at the same time. Like, it's like, that seems like the thing. It's not a thing.
I mean, maybe it was, but it's there. Like what I saw culturally was there's this like stark division between the speed people thought the ketamine people were on bad drugs, and the ketamine people thought the speed people were on bad drugs.
You preferred the speed to the ketamine.
Yeah, I did the ketamine. I couldn't fucking move.
Yeah.
I was like, I require control over my own body, as it turns out. Like I would like to move when I choose to move.
I think I would have been a ketamine if I was a raver in Europe at that moment. I would have been a ketamine raver. I think
because you're a heroin addict.
Yeah. And like in moving, I never was that good of a mover. You know, I always preferred not moving if I could. So did you do a bunch of ketamine in Europe? And how long did you stay in Europe for?
I was just there for like 1 month. Mostly I drank and then had that weird we make techno party experience. And I preferred the speed and always the drinking. I mean, like drinking, I don't know why they say alcohol and drugs, because alcohol is a fucking drug. But that was like my main deal, was always drinking, and then everything else was like kind of a side dish.
People question me all the time for not having proper alcoholics on the show. Someone just wrote me and like got angry that I don't have proper alcoholics on the show. So I think you're going to check that box.
Oh, proper alcoholic for sure. And everything else. Yeah. I mean, I was addicted to a lot of other shit, but it was like, you know, as soon as I quit drinking, like doing other drugs was like, I don't really need to be doing that.
What was she gardening?
I don't know what she was gardening. I was staying in the house.
You just knew that it was a full tweaker sign to have a headlamp and be out in the fields in the middle of the night. I was
like, this is not normal behavior.
This is not proper farming.
Yeah, but yeah, I got back from Europe and then I was like continuing my traveling. Like I would home base in northern Florida and then I would like leave and travel a bunch. And I got into the migrant farm work scene, which was where a lot of the like crust punks were working, because it's a lot of jobs that you can like be super fucked up at and just work there for like a few weeks, like a seasonal farm job, and then leave and not work for like a month and then go to the next seasonal farm job. I worked at a whole bunch of different ones of those, but I worked at a sugar beet piling yard, which is a really popular punk job, especially for people on hard drugs, because like you literally just sit there for 12 hours. I worked on the night shift and you watch like trucks come in and then they dump out these like loads of sugar beets and then they drive away. And it's like every once in a while you have to take a sample of the beets. So you just literally press a button like once every 20 minutes and put a few beets in a bag and then set it to the side. And that's like your whole job. So people were like strung out on heroin at that job. People are like drinking whiskey all night. And yeah, it's just a weird fucked up place. And honestly, like, don't kick me off of your show, but I never did needle drugs. And like a lot of my friends did. And I like was scared of it. I was like, oh, this is like when your friends just die and disappear. So I like tried to avoid where my friends were when they were on needle drugs for like a lot of my 20s, because I didn't want to just like, a lot of my friends were dying, right? But I didn't want to see it. So I tried to go to the beet harvest that people weren't doing heroin at. And when my friend arrived on an airplane to go ride with me out there, she had been shooting up Suboxone, which I didn't even think you could do that. And I didn't even think it would work. Like, does that sound like it makes sense to you?
People do it.
People do it. Yeah. And then like the whole ride there, she like wasn't helping drive. And I would like out of the corner of my eye see her like popping pills of some kind. And like, I'm not like harboring judgment towards people on heroin at like whatsoever, but it was just like, it was scary for me. Like I didn't want to see people die. I wasn't ready for that. You know what I mean? And then I got to the beet harvest and people were getting heroin in the mail and they were like stealing each other's cars to go drive to the house, the punk house, to go like steal each other's heroin that was coming in the mail. And it was like, it was fucking scary. And then there was like people like dropping their rigs on my floorboards in my truck. And like my friend came out of a porta potty after shooting up and like puked on me. And I was like, man, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, you know?
Yeah, but you're drinking. I mean, like, I think probably everybody can look at somebody else and be like, well, at least I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of like the nature of what keeps us apart and what keeps us alive. You know, like a lot of people would say that serious alcohol consumption is like the most dangerous of all the things. And meanwhile, it's like, well, I would never shoot heroin, or I would never smoke crack, or I would never shoot crack while riding a train. You know, whatever it turns. You know what I mean? It's so easy to like you make your lines in the sand, and it's also like I mean, I've been doing this show forever. It's something I say all the time, but the brain chemistry, like our brains react differently to different things because our brains are different. And at that point, when you're in the sugar beet land or with all the junkies, which sounds like there's a lot of good stuff in there in my mind. Like, I feel like Sugar Beets could be a good band name or a band record. Sugar Beets.
I'm sure something is named after that out there. There's been a lot of punks at the Beat Factory.
And beets are delicious. The Beat Factory, like that seems like a great record name to me. Are you smoking crack at that point? Or are you just drinking crazy?
Just drinking crazy. I feel like the only place I ever did like coke or crack was in Florida.
Right.
I think. But
where was the Beat Factory?
Montana.
Wow.
Yeah, they have them in Minnesota, North Dakota, and Montana.
Is Into the Wild a big punk, text? He's not a punk, obviously. The guy, Chris McCandless, who wrote Into the Wild, but all the things you did and do, he did.
Yeah, except he's like really isolationist about it, and punks are really built on community.
Right.
Yeah. So I would say it is not, I mean.
It is not a punk text.
No, but I'm aware of it, and I read it a million years ago. But I also got into working on weed farms, which is like a big punk job too. Did you ever work on a weed farm?
I did. I actually got asked to leave like a day into it. It's a very embarrassing story. I got a job on a weed farm in like Sonoma, California, and like my girlfriend at the time had a friend who like was a big trimmer up there, and he said I could go up there for a month, and I was on methadone, and I like got to the point where they gave me a month worth of take homes, and I was so excited, but I was high, and I went up there, and I think I was so annoying that they fired me after a day because they couldn't handle the idea of me talking to them for a month.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's hilarious.
It's very embarrassing. So where were you working on weed farms?
Humboldt County. Yeah. The first job that I got up there was like, so it's hard to get a job where people pay you money, which you don't realize till you get there. The first job that I got up there was like a friend of a friend of a friend's cousin or whatever. And I was in this like single wide trailer with all the windows shut with curtains over them, and some like sketchy dude with an automatic weapon like guarding us. And they would bring us out like garbage bags of weed. And I remember being like, holy shit, if I could teleport my high school self here right now to be like, someone's just going to start shoveling garbage bags of weed to you or whatever. But no, and it was like the dude with the gun got to pick the music. So we're sitting there listening to like fucking dubstep all day long in this trailer with the windows blocked out just for like 12 hours trimming weed. And it made me fucking crazy. Luckily, a couple of years later, I got a better job where it was like all punks and we got to pick the music, and they bought us food and they paid us in money instead of weed. But that place was weird because it was like the property owners are so fucking rich that they had like a private airplane, and where we would park our cars was where they would like take off and land. It was like their runway or whatever. So they would be like, can somebody please go ask the trimmers to move their cars so we can land our airplane or whatever? And it's like those same people wouldn't get us an extra porta potty. And we would have, before you would go take a shit, you'd have to like get a stick and like poke the last person's turd off the top of Turd Mountain. So like the poop wouldn't be touching your butt when you went to go take a shit. And it's like, y'all can't buy us another porta potty, but you're up in here asking us to move our cars so you can land your fucking airplane. Like, and yeah, it's like everyone on Weed Mountain is like, every grower like thinks that they're God. And then it's like everyone's stuck on a mountain for so long with like, they all get like paranoid and they all have these guns and they like think people are going to steal from them or they are stealing from them. And they'll like send the employees out to like go through looking through all the trimmers' tents to be like, who stole my 3 ounces that I had set off to the side on my desk or whatever. It's like, no one stole it. You're just stoned and you fucking set it somewhere else. Like, stop looking through our shit. You know what I mean? But the year that I got paid in weed, I didn't expect to get paid in weed. I was like hoping for money, but then there I was with like, it wasn't that much. It was like 2 or 3 pounds or something. And me and my partner at the time were like, well, what are we going to do? We're in California. We live in Florida. And now we have 3 pounds of weed. Like, what the fuck are we supposed to do? And it's when weed was illegal. Right. not that I think that you can like drive across the country
I think
with 3 pounds anymore.
I think weed is still illegal in Florida too.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I mean, back then it was like, and I don't know if it's still like this in California, but we would get like buzzed with helicopters. Like they would like threaten to like chop the farms or whatever. And when the helicopters would be buzzing your farm, you'd have to like run out into the woods and like hide. Super sketchy. But
I loved that whole, like, I was not accepted into the trimmer world for a myriad of reasons, but I was always very drawn to it. And it seemed like, do you ever see the movie Homegrown?
no.
It's like about the subculture of it's like a stupid movie, but it's about like kind of what you're talking about, like these elitist growers and this like elitist subculture of all these super wealthy people that are like we're the greatest because we grow the kindest bud and fucking whatever.
You know why they call it weed? Because it grows like a fucking weed. It's not hard to grow.
I wish in another lifetime that I was like some fucking like weed mogul on Weed Mountain. I would have gotten you guys another porta potty though.
Thank you.
So what did you do with the pounds?
We're trying to figure out like vacuum sealing them so they wouldn't smell or whatever. So we vacuum sealed them a bunch. And then we're like, where do we put them? Like I had this $500 Honda Civic that looked like a fucking tweaker mobile. And I got pulled over all the time. And I'm like, where the fuck are we going to put these? So we literally got like a contractor bag that had a bunch of disgusting trash in it. And we hid them in the like nasty, disgusting trash in a contractor bag in the trunk. And we're like, well, if we get pulled over and they search, like they're not going to want to like look through a stinky trash bag. And that was our logic. But the person I was dating at the time was a weed addict. And I was like, can you not smoke weed for like the drive home? And he was like, no, I have to. So we're like pulling over like to the like off roads or whatever. So he can get out of the car and walk into the woods and go like get stoned because he fucking has to or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, if we ever get pulled over, like it's going to smell and they're going to search us. You know what I mean? But luckily we didn't fucking get pulled over the whole time. And we got back to Florida and I just like one of the pounds I just like gave to a friend and I was like, if you can come up with X amount of dollars, like that would help me break even. And I'm pretty sure she did it. And then the other pound, I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to start like selling dime bags to my friends or whatever. Like, I don't the fuck know what else to do. Like I was just in California working for months and not getting paid. And this is all I have. So I like buy a little scale and I'm like selling dime bags to my friends. And it was like really competitive market in Florida at that time. I had like 7 other friends that were drug dealers. So I was like, okay, my edge is gonna be, I'm super responsive and I'll deliver on my bicycle like instantly, like right when you text me. And that's going to be my edge above everyone else. It's like, too stoned to text people back or whatever. And so I was doing that. It was going pretty well. And I was like going to be breaking even or like maybe even doing kind of good for myself. And I was like heavily into stealing at that point too. Like ever since I saw that everything is free if you want it to be sign. And I like started hanging out with punks and they're like, just take what you want. It belongs to you. I would like steal like expensive food and just fucking bullshit from Walmart or whatever. Like I wasn't like crazy about it, but it was like, if I can not work and I can just take what belongs to me, then I'm going to do that. So I was like at Walmart and I was just stealing some bullshit, just like a couple of things that I needed because it was just what I did. Like why pay for shit at Walmart? And then I walk out the door and I'm in the parking lot and some like plain clothes dude just like grabs me. And then another dude comes up behind me and grabs me and I'm like sandwiched in between these two dudes. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like I'm getting mugged. I'm going to get thrown into a van. Like what the fuck? And then the guy behind me goes, don't do anything stupid. And I was like, what the fuck? And then they start dragging me back towards the Walmart. And I was like, oh my God, they're like loss prevention. I was like, oh, fuck this, man. So they take me in. I'm in like the room with all the cameras. And I'm like, man, fuck, this sucks. Like, I hope I can just give back the shit that I stole and they'll like let me go.
Maybe everything isn't for free.
Yeah. And then I realized I had all these little dime bags with me too.
Oh God.
And because I just always had it on me. I didn't even think about it.
Right.
And then so the cop shows up and is like, what'd you steal? I was like, here it is. This is it. Like you can have it. And then he's like looking through my stuff and I can smell the weed. I know he can smell the weed. And he's like, well, I have to take you to jail But you know, you got all these like pocket knives and pepper spray and shit. Like they're not going to let you have that. They're not going to want that in the jail. And I was like, okay, man. Well, so the thing is like the house I'm staying at is like a half a block away from the police station. Would you just like take my bag with all those knives and pepper spray in it that they don't want at the jail? Like, will you just take that and drop that off on the porch of the house that I'm staying in? Like, it would be super easy for you. It's right next to the police station. And he goes, okay. So I'm like handcuffed in the back of a cop car, like texting behind my back to my buddy on my flip phone, like, bro, a cop is about to bring my bag to your house. I'm so sorry. He's going to set it on the porch. Just bring it inside. I'm fucking sorry. Like, I'll see you when I see you and I'll make it right. So the cop pretends not to see the weed, takes it to my buddy's house and sets it on the fucking porch and goes about the rest of his day. And I went to jail for stealing, but the cop fucking ignored the weed and drove my bag full of weed and set it on my friend's porch. And I still fucking can't believe that happened.
Like, you have no idea why. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if he ignored it, he didn't see it. He wasn't hooking you up, you know. Maybe he was hooking you up. Who knows? How long did you go to jail for?
It was just overnight. And then at my like arraignment in the morning, it was like a room full of people and we're all like watching each other's like arraignments up with the judge or whatever. And then we all leave and go to like the gas station across the street that everyone goes to when they get out of jail. And people are like, you know, buying cigarettes or whatever they're buying. And all the dudes that like had seen my arraignment, the cop was like, well, you can't go to Walmart today, but you can go to Walmart tomorrow. And I was like, what? I was like, okay. And then all the dudes at the gas station were like, yo, it's Walmart. It's no more Walmart. What's up? And I was like, oh my God, fuck. Now I'm no more Walmart. That's me.
Did you stay no more Walmart for a while? Did you keep stealing from Walmart anyway, or you didn't do it again?
I like got nervous for a little bit, but then no, I stole a lot more from Walmart after that. I was very committed. Theft made me just as high as anything else.
Yeah, I used to steal a lot too. Mm-hmm. So when does stuff start getting bad?
I mean, stuff was like...
It doesn't sound like it's that bad at this point. When are you like, I should probably try to get sober?
I mean, I was like trying to get sober on and off this entire time. Like I'd have like periods of quitting and then I was like the sober friend, but I was really the sober friend who was like secretly drinking because I was like ashamed of myself and I didn't want to tell everyone that I was like the on again, off again sober friend, you know? It just became like shame and embarrassment. But yeah, I mean, I had periods of sobriety. Like when I lived on the Sailboat,
When was that?
2012 and 2013. Yeah, punks would just like buy dilapidated old sailboats and like fix them up and just sail. We just sailed wherever the fuck we wanted to, like all around the Caribbean and Central America. We'd sail up to uninhabited islands and just be like, this is our fucking island, you know? But at that point I was like sober of alcohol and most drugs, but I still like, I hadn't done any work on myself and I still had like fucking crazy anxiety. So if I ever got too uncomfortable, I was like snorting Xanax, but it wasn't all the time.
Where were these uninhabited islands and how long would you stay on them?
The Bahamas. There's like thousands of islands in the Bahamas and most of them are uninhabited. And
that seems like the ultimate squat. Why is there no like a crusty island?
I don't know. I think because we all need like food and water and resources like to some extent.
Well, you could farm. You could get chickens out there or something. I think you should set up CRUST Island in the Bahamas. It could be an amazing development in the CRUST movement. I can't believe there is no CRUST Island.
Maybe there is. I don't know. I haven't been sailing in like 13 years or something. Maybe there's CRUST Island now. Y'all email Dave if the CRUST Island exists.
Yeah, does anybody know about any CRUST Island? Let us know at dopeypodcast@gmail.com. So you're not, I mean, it's like, is the alcohol real bad?
I mean, when I was in Florida and I was like quitting drinking, most of the time I was sober and then I would like secretly drink or whatever. It was pretty bad during that like crack smoking in Miami time. I would be like on benders and super sick. And there was one time I had like an abscess in my mouth that was pretty bad. Yeah, just like blacked out all the time and pissing everyone off and shit like that. But like, yeah, in between age of 18 and 31, I was like quitting drinking and drugs like the whole time. You know what I mean? But I guess it got really, really, really bad when I moved to Arkansas
Where did you move in Arkansas?
Northwest Arkansas. So like traveling punks, like everywhere you go, they're like punks exist. And then you can just like meet someone and be like, well, where do you stay at? Or like, do you have a friend I can stay with when I'm here? And
Real tribal.
Yeah, very much. And it's like, you don't have to know anyone to like be like, oh, we're already friends. Like I could be like, yo, do you know anyone in this town I'm going to? And someone would be like, yes, I do. And then give them your phone number. And then you can just go stay there. And because you're already like in that subculture, there's so many things that are like assumed about like your personality and your ethics and stuff that it's like, we're just already friends. But there was this spot out in the woods that a person that I was dating was staying at in Northwest Arkansas. And so I would visit there periodically. And then eventually I came to live there.
Was it a house, a camp? Like, and how big a scene was it?
Northwest Arkansas is like, it's a tiny, tiny, tiny little scene. But there's, this spot that a few of us live at out in the woods. And it's just like, it's shack life. It's cabin life. You know what I mean? You're shitting in an outhouse and collecting spring water and, there's rats in the house and whatnot.
But they're your friends and they wear outfits and stuff? No.
The rats?
Yeah, I'm just joking. That was a bad joke. I'm gonna take that joke out. Hold on.
Come on.
Whatchamacallit? What was the thing that inspired you to get sober?
I mean, it was always in the back of my mind. Like we were talking about, the seed was planted when I was 18, and it just like, it would get bad to a certain point, and then I would like rein it back in, and it would get bad to a certain point, and I'd rein it back in. There was like a bunch of like mind shattering kind of like shifts that happened. As soon as I started living in Arkansas, one of my very best friends ever, Will, died. And he lived in North Carolina. And it just like, I don't know, it just like changed how I viewed everything, I guess. It just felt like everything was falling apart. And I went to his funeral, and I actually was like, me and a bunch of my friends hung out the night before and like got super drunk. And then at that point, it was like so normal for me to drink in the morning that I woke up and of course I was drinking in the morning. And I went to his funeral, and it was like his parents had set up his funeral. His parents are like Catholics or something. So they had like some priest at the funeral. And my friend fucking did not believe in God and would have thought that his funeral fucking sucked. And I was drunk, and it was a morning. And the priest is just like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, this is not fucking what this person would have wanted. And I literally interrupt the priest at the funeral and say, Will didn't believe in God. And, it's one of those like moments, like everyone looks at me like, oh my God.
The mother faints.
Yeah. That type of
word.
shit. Yeah. But I mean, a bunch of the punks were like, thank you for saying that. And then like the family fucking hated me. You know what I mean? But after that, it was like, my drinking just kept going and it didn't stop. And that was the point where like I was just scaring away everyone, alienating everyone, just like spinning out more alcohol-induced psychosis. And that's when I first started to get like DUIs and being institutionalized and shit like that.
And what was institutionalization? Like the psych wards and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened there?
The first time I was institutionalized, it was just like a couple months after Will had died, and I was just like super strung out, drinking, was like in psychosis. Everyone was like, no one wanted to fucking talk to me anymore. I was just like such a mess, and everyone was so fucking over it. And I woke up one day and I was like, I can't stop drinking. I'm bored. I have nothing to do. I feel like shit. Everyone hates me. There's like nothing left of my life anymore. Like it spun out really fast after I moved to Arkansas. And then I called my friend who had like a crazy brother or something who was always institutionalized. And I was like, how do I do that? Like, how do I go to a place? Like, I don't know where to go or what to do, but I can't keep, like, I'm barely alive and I don't the fuck know what to do. And so she figured out some like psych ward that I could go to. Someone picked me up and drove me there. And it was like, man, I don't know if they're all like this, but in Northwest Arkansas, it's just like they lock you in a box. They come and like shine a flashlight on you at like odd hours of the night and they're just like taking your blood all the time. And I was like, and they give you like one Ativan, you know what I mean? And it was just like, it felt like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, honestly.
Well, that's why people aren't dying to go to the psych ward. It's rare that somebody is in your situation and they're like, I think I'm going to go to the psych ward. Most people are like, I got to get to detox. I got to get to rehab. Like the psych ward, I never had to go to a psych ward, but from what I've heard, it seems very scary.
Yeah. I mean, it was like detox in a psych ward. I just don't know if that, like, I couldn't imagine. I didn't know what I needed. I so much didn't know what existed or what I needed. I was just like out of touch with anything besides like stealing wine from Walmart or whatever, you know what I mean? That I just like I had no idea what the fuck, to the point where I called one person. I was like, your crazy brother goes into places, right? Like, how do you do that? Like, that was the only thing I could think to do.
But there's also that weird Venn diagram where alcoholism hits the psychosis. And then it's like, your crazy brother is obviously crazy. He might not be an alcoholic. And you're an alcoholic. But it must have been very, very scary. But it also must have probably helped the process of stopping drinking. Yeah,
it was like, by the time I got out, I was like, detox. Oh, yeah. And they gave me a fake bipolar diagnosis. This is something I get on my fucking soapbox about all the time. I go into the room with the psychiatrist at the psych facility and tell him all the shit about myself. And he's like, do you know what I'm going to say to you? And I was like, no, what are you going to say to me? And he goes, you're bipolar. And I was like, what? I was like, I don't know about that, man. And then I walk out of that guy's office and there's like a frequent flyer lady like chilling in the psych ward. And she goes, he told you you're bipolar, didn't he? And I was like, how'd you know? And she goes, he tells everyone that. So I got sent out of the psych ward, like I was detoxed.
The frequent flyer, meaning that she's a return customer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I get sent out of the detox, told I'm bipolar, and I'm on 5 different psych meds, like antipsychotics, mood stabilizers, all sorts of shit. And as it turns out, you cannot diagnose someone as bipolar if their behavior can be explained by the use of a substance. It's like right there in their diagnostic criteria. I guess they just fucking ignore it all the time. But then I was like sober of alcohol for like a few days. Like I was just in there a few days before they kick you out. And then I come out and I'm just like on all these crazy drugs. And I'm like, wait, I'm bipolar. Like still everyone hates me. Still I don't have a job. I live in a fucking shack in the woods full of rats. And I was like, well, fucking what now? So it's like, I just started drinking like right away.
That checks out.
Yeah.
And it's like, you had mentioned before we started, like that you didn't get sober with 12 steps. Like what did you try 12 step at that point?
I don't remember exactly when I started going to meetings.
You rarely see serious punks at meetings. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, it's because we hear the word God, we hit the ground running. We don't like being told what to do.
Right. It's supposed to be suggestions, though. But anyway, keep going.
They say that, but how people act is not, yeah.
Right. You either do it or you don't do it. It's very, very cut and dry.
Yeah.
It's not a crust-friendly thing.
No, it's not, which is why I made Recovery Demystified, which is a crust-friendly thing. But, I mean, things like blew up and got way more fucked up after that. I got, like, my first DUI was like, because I was on all those psych meds and I started drinking again. The psych meds like really affect how the alcohol affects you, like a lot less and ends up feeling like a lot more. So it was like 2 p.m. on a Sunday and all of a sudden I'm drinking a normal amount that I would normally drink when I drove my car, which is still probably too much and I probably shouldn't have been doing it. But I fucking passed out at the wheel and like rolled my car at 2 p.m. on a Sunday. And
not good.
No, not good. And I don't know if this is real or not, but I remember someone running up to my car, like it landed back on its tires. Someone ran up to my car and was like, do you have any open containers? And I remember handing this person a bunch of empty bottles, like before the cops got there. And the cops got there and I still got a DUI anyway. And of course I drank right when I got out of jail. But yeah, they took my license and it was like, oh, you can only drive if you get like a blow and go. But I was just so fucked up and strung out and like hopeless and on all these like psych meds at that point. And I just like completely lost any faith in my own survival or like ability to do anything normal. So it's like, I could have gotten a blow and go. I could have like gone to the DMV and gotten an ID that said I was 30 or whatever. But instead I just like got in a different car. That one was totaled. I had sold my friends my car, and I was like, can you sell that back to me? So they sold me back like a $500 Honda Civic, and I got in that car without a blow and go and without a license, and I just like fucking drove away from Arkansas, and I was like, I'm gonna go back to Wisconsin. Like, I'll go back home to Wisconsin and stay in my dad's house, and it was like my rehab center. It was like where I would get sober over and over and over, and I was like, I gotta fucking get out of here. And I was like drinking the whole drive, and I made it to like the middle of Illinois before I called my sister, and I was like, I can't make it. Like, I need you to come here and help me. So my mom and my sister like drove to the middle of Illinois. My sister drove my car back to Wisconsin, and my mom drove me and my dogs back to Wisconsin. And yeah, it's like I could get sober for like a little bit at my like dad's house in Wisconsin, but as soon as I started being sober for like a week, I'd be like, I'm cured. I feel great. Like, I can leave.
As you got closer to sobriety, and just even when you just started to be like we had talked about the seed being planted or whatever, and going from place to place, and drinking, and then like deciding that you need to go home to kind of feel safe. Like, what was the emotional place in general at the end? Like, what was, because like, you know, we get to a place where after the fact, you're like, wow, I can't believe I got to that place. Like, do you remember the feelings of like this kind of part of your story, like the end of the drinking? Is that a horrible question? That sounds like a really weirdly phrased question.
No, it makes sense. I guess it was just like desperation. I felt really lost. I just felt like stuck, you know? I remember having a moment when I was living in the shack in the woods full of rats or whatever, where I was like, I had to go vomit. You know, I was drinking in the morning, and it was like cold and icy outside, and I went out behind the shack, and I was like on my hands and knees, like almost passing out, vomiting. And I remember just thinking, like, how do people do, like, how is anyone alive on earth? How are people like having healthy relationships and families, and like how is any, like, I just felt lost. I felt like everything was impossible.
That's the other interesting thing, I think, like when you're dealing with a subculture like crust punk, like on one hand, the freedom is so beautiful, the acceptance is so beautiful, the do-it-yourself aspect is so beautiful. But if you throw substances in, it's like on one hand, living in a shack with rats as a crust punk seems like a decent thing. Mm-hmm. But once you're fucking struggling with alcohol and vomiting and being sick, it's like, it's not cool. Like how, like, isn't the difference between like a crust punk who's doing great versus a crust punk who's suffering? Like, what's the difference? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Or is that a stupid question also?
It's not a stupid question, but it does make sense that it's like substances and mental health problems would probably be the main difference between the ones that are, I don't know if anyone's like just doing great or just suffering. I think a lot of what like brings people to punk is that like our lives are fucked up and we're searching for something different. You know, we're searching for a better way to do all of this. So there's pain that's woven into it for everyone.
Definitely. And no, there is no life that's great. I just imagine this sober, crusty island where it's like feeding chickens and fucking plowing the fields and swimming and thatching huts out of fucking palm trees and stuff, versus like the junkies on the street and the alcoholics and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's a subculture that's very hard to stay in when you're using. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. And the older I get, I mean, I'm 37 now. And of course, like I'm in recovery. So the more people I meet are like going to be people in recovery. So I see like sort of a shift happening with a lot of older punks where it's like, you just get fucking wore out of all this bullshit that used to seem fun. And there's like a lot more sober punks than there used to be.
Right. But it is fun when you're young to push the boundaries, and we're much more resilient and much more capable of it. So you were describing you're driving without a license, you go home, you think you're cured, and then you take off for Vermont.
Yeah. One thing that is funny that I just saw in my notes that I forgot to say, when I was in the psych ward, they like didn't have enough staff to staff both the psych ward and the Alzheimer's unit. So they combined the patients from the psych ward and the Alzheimer's unit. And so there's like all these like confused old people have no idea what's going on wandering around, where there's all these other, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest type people. And I literally remember sitting next to this dude that had dementia, and I had my like styrofoam cup of fucking decaf or whatever they give you at the psych ward. And I looked down and this dude picked up my cup and was eating it.
The styrofoam.
He was eating the styrofoam cup, and I had to be like, nurse, he's eating my cup. Oh my God. But yeah, so I was driving to.
That is something very special about styrofoam cups, that you can take a bite out of them.
Wow. Just quite the texture. I'm sure it was very pleasant for him.
You don't want to swallow it. I used to take bites out of styrofoam cups, but I wouldn't swallow the styrofoam. That seems
Was
like.
that you in the psych ward?
I was somebody that definitely pulled apart styrofoam cups with my teeth, but I would never be swallowing. Was he eating it or just picking it apart?
I don't know.
I hope he wasn't eating. I think styrofoam will kill you. I think you can't be eating that stuff.
It seemed like he was eating it to me at that time.
Yeah, I might have been the guy. I think I'm a styrofoam cup chewer for sure. The fact that I can really access a lot of times destroying a styrofoam cup with my mouth is probably quite telling.
Yeah, so I was driving to Vermont after I was cured. Yeah. And I got there and I was going to work where I'd worked several years before, pruning Christmas trees on a Christmas tree farm.
You had every great crust punk job.
Oh, yeah, I did. Jimmy
John's, fucking trimming weed, and now trimming Christmas trees. Like, tell me everything.
It's like trimming enormous weed, kind of. Christmas trees actually get pruned once a year, every year, until they're about 7 or 8 years old. And then they're harvested and brought to your fine city so people can know what it's like to be near a tree for a little while. But, I mean, it was just, we're just on top of a mountain in Vermont and, like, swinging machetes in the air and just, trying to make the Christmas trees look all perfect or whatever. It's not
in New York in Christmas time. It's mostly hippies from Canada bring in the trees, and they're like those crust hippies. They're not crust punks. They're like crust hippies, and in thick sweaters, like usually good-looking couples selling Christmas trees on the streets of New York City.
Yeah, I never did the Christmas tree selling job. That's like a separate punk job that I never did. But apparently they get trained to like look at people's shoes, and then they decide what price to tell people the tree is by like guessing what their income level is based on their shoes.
See, my shoes would get me a very inexpensive tree, but they seem to think that I should be spending too much on trees, marking me for being a wealthy Jew who buys a Christmas tree.
But yeah, so the thing about it is like my boss hired me back because he didn't know how much of a fuck up I was, but the place that I was going to go stay, the person that owned it and then my other coworker was one of my friends, the one with the crazy brother actually, who helps me get into the psych ward. But both of those people were like, I was on their last good graces, and they were like, you can only come here and work this job if you do not drink. And I was like, yeah, totally. Like, I just got sober at my dad's house, and yeah, I'm not going to drink at all. But of course, right when I get there, I'm just like secret drinking. I'm like buying beer from the corner store and like sneaking it past them and like going to my cabin and secret drinking, which is like my move. Like, I'm sober, but I was secret drinking for a decade,
So you would like claim recovery to people, but you drank at the same time.
Because the thing about it is like, I learned that in order to have people approve of me, I needed to be sober, yet I didn't have the life skills to be sober. So I would just try to get away with it to have people like me.
Right.
Which I think is pretty common for people that use. But so they were like, you can't drink here. And my like twisted, addicted brain interpreted that as like, you can't drink here on the property. So I would I took the beer one night and I was like sitting in my car, just like calling and texting people and drinking. And then, I would get these like crazy ideas when I was drunk that I was going to like go on like a Kill Bill revenge tour and like fucking fuck up all the people that had like ever harmed me or something.
So resentments loomed large.
Yes.
Who was top on the list?
the person that sexually abused me when I was 6 years old was going to be the first on the Kill Bill list.
Who was that?
Pediatrician.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
When you were 6?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that probably has something to do with
This whole story.
the whole story. I mean, yeah, if we had every detail, it would take 37 years to tell my story.
We'd have to smoke crack behind the Bacardi's line.
Yeah. But so sometimes when I get super fucking wasted, I would get the Kill Bill revenge tour idea. And so I got that idea that night in Vermont. And, but I was like too fucked up to drive. So I was just like, I got to find somewhere to park that I'm not going to get another DUI. And just like wake up in the morning and then I'll go do Kill Bill in the morning. But then I ended up parking in someone's front yard and like fell asleep with the car on. So they called the cops, and the next thing I know, there's like a cop knocking on my window, and I'm like, oh no, I've been drinking, and I have like a beer between my legs. And then he carts me off to jail and leaves I had 3 dogs. He left my fucking dogs in the car. And it was nighttime then, but it was going to be, it was July, it was going to be daytime eventually. So I get to the jail and I'm like getting booked or whatever. And I'm like pissed at the dude. And I had like really fucking stinky farts that night. So I kept farting and farting and farting. And the cop was like, are you fucking farting? And I was like, yeah, I'm fucking farting. Like, what do you want? Like, I don't want to be in jail. Like, take me home. And I guess like at some jails, they also, when you shit, they like don't want you to flush just in case they want to like look through your shit for drugs or something. So then I'm like having nasty stinky shits in there too, and I was like, what, you wouldn't let me fucking flush it, man, like this is your problem. Just like I thought it was hilarious that I was like farting all over the cop or whatever. But then they like put me in the cell and they won't let me out until I blow zeros, which is going to take a long fucking time because I was super wasted. I was like Kill Bill wasted. So it was the next level. And then like the sun's coming up and I'm like, my fucking dogs, like what'd they do with my dogs? And they didn't do anything with them. And so I was like, oh my God, like my dogs are going to fucking die in that car. And so I go through the little like slot that they send your food through into the jail cell. And I just start yelling like for the jailer. And I was like, hey man, like, I don't know you. I mean, I'm sure you probably don't think very much of me. And like, I know I don't think very much of me, but can you fucking please try to go get my dogs out of that car? Like, can you call animal control? Can you call someone? Like, you at least got to have respect for those animals that like didn't ask for this shit. And so he calls like, it's rural Vermont, right? So they don't have real animal control. So he calls like some guy who like goes and helps dogs. And then some guy got up to my car and saw 3 barking pit bulls and was like, I'm not fucking dealing with that, and left. And so then the jailer comes up to the little slot and is like, oh, that guy was scared of your dogs. And I was like, oh my God, here's what we're going to do. Okay. The only phone number I have memorized is my mom's phone number. And I was like, Mr. Jailer man, will you call my mom, tell my mom to call my sister, tell my sister to call this person that I've been living with in Vermont, and have her tell the person I've been living with in Vermont the address at which I was arrested so she can go get my fucking dogs out of my car. And then, but doing that, like, blew up my cover or whatever. So it was like, okay, my mom knows, my sister knows, the person I wasn't supposed to drink here, and now I'm in jail, and that person's going to know, and they have to go get my dogs out of the car, which may be alive and which may be 3 fucking dead dogs in the car. But the jailer did it. He called my mom called my sister called my friend went to the address at which I was arrested and found 3 living dogs in the car and took them out, and then came and picked me up from jail later that day, and at which point I was informed by her and the other person that owned the property that I was to leave the state of Vermont and not return.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you take the dogs with you?
I took the dogs with me, and this is the spiral. This is like when we're circling the drain or whatever. But of course, I was like, I feel insane. Like my last friends have turned on me. Like I did this thing I wasn't supposed to do. And my only coping skill at that point was like drinking. So there's this other job that I'd worked several times, which is at a blueberry farm in Maine, which was 6 hours away. And I was like, I'm just going to show up at the blueberry farm and see if I can't get hired on, and just like, I don't know, just do whatever. And it took me like a week to drive those 6 hours because I was wasted the whole time. I would like drive the wrong direction. I would be like too drunk to drive and park somewhere. And then I'd be so scared that I was going to get arrested in a parked car again that I would like get out of my car and take my dogs and like go like lay down next to a tree in the woods. And I was just stealing wine the whole time. I would be like parked up behind the Walmart for a few days and just like walk into the Walmart and walk out with a tent and walk into the Walmart and like take a bunch of little mini wine bottles and like fill my boots with like little mini wine bottles. And just like super wasted and in the Walmart parking lot somewhere in Maine, still like 2 or 3 hours away from the place that I was trying to get to. And then the next thing I know, I woke up next to my car at the Walmart parking lot, and I looked up and there was all these fucking like lights, like siren lights. And I was like, God damn it, I'm getting another fucking DUI. Like a few days later, I was like, fuck this shit. And then, but it's ambulances that time.
Because they found you passed out next to your car.
Or like some Walmart employee or customer or something was like, somebody's dead over here or something. But luckily it's fucking ambulances that time. And one of the dogs ran away. The 2 other dogs like stayed in my car. And I still have them. One of them got old and died, but I still have one of the other ones.
And what happened to we don't know what happened to the other dog?
It ran away, and I like put up posters and called a bunch of places and shit when I got out. But no, I never found that dog. And it's like one of my,
one
biggest,
of those things.
Yeah, where I feel fucking super shitty about it. But
I'm sure that dog is living it up right now somewhere.
I hope whoever called me in and saw me like passed out was like, this person doesn't need to have these fucking dogs, and like took it and like gave it a really good life or something. But the other 2 dogs are my very, very, very best friends. They're super loyal and they're always with me. But yeah, I like wouldn't tell the ambulance people my name because I was like, oh, if they know my name, they're going to know I keep getting arrested and they're going to like call the cops and I'm going to go to jail again. And it's going to be all fucked up. And so since I wouldn't tell them my name, I wasn't allowed to refuse their care because you have to like prove that you like are in touch with reality and understand what's going on to be able to like refuse medical care. Which I understood later because I got a job working on an ambulance later in life. But they took me to just a hospital, and I like refused all the services at the hospital. I like I didn't want the IV. I didn't want anything, and I wouldn't tell them my name. And then they had like a security guard watching me. And the next day I was like, let me out of here. Like, let me go. I need to go get my dogs or whatever. And they're like, you just have to tell us your name and your date of birth and we'll let you go. And so I literally made up a name and date of birth and I was like, there you go. And then they let me out and I was like, where am I? Where's the Walmart? And they're like, oh, you're at the hospital. It's like however many miles away from the Walmart. And I was like, how the fuck am I supposed to get back to the Walmart? And then they called me some like taxi for poor people, that are at the hospital. So the taxi brought me back to the Walmart and I was like, where the fuck is my car? Like, where are my dogs? Like, I can't believe this shit is fucking happening again. And then I see my car and I like the last little bit of strength I have in my body after being so drunk for so fucking long. I like run up to my car. I see the 2 dogs in it and they're fine. And then the other dog is gone. And I just was like, okay. I just went the rest of the way to the blueberry farm. And I got hired there because that's a place for fuck ups. The boss is a fuck up. The boss is like a drunk dude who's like,
it's another like top 5 crust punk jobs.
100%.
Blueberry farm.
Yeah. And it's like the boss is like a fuck up alcoholic dude who like his son doesn't talk to him anymore. And like, yeah, it's just one of those places. So I was like, hey man, like I had like fallen in the woods too. Cause I was like living in the tent by the Walmart and I had like a black eye and I just like showed up all strung out looking like shit with a black eye, having been to like jail and involuntary hospitalization in the past week.
Wait, hold up for a sec. So you're really you're spiraling and it's scary. It seems like one thing after the next, and having dogs, in that situation is scary in itself.
Yeah, because I'm like responsible for their well-being and I love them and we're best friends, but it's like I couldn't.
You could, imagine they're kids. It's
yeah.
like holy shit.
Yeah.
So the blueberry farm.
Yeah, so I'm like barely surviving at the blueberry farm. I can hardly work. I'm just drinking the whole time. I like want to kill myself, but I can't bring myself to do it. And somehow, I made it through the whole season there. And I was waiting for my DUI court date in Vermont to come up. So I was doing all the like post-season work at the blueberry farm and like living in this shack and it was fucking freezing. And yeah, just, you know, shoving wine down my pants at the grocery store like normal because I still didn't have an ID. And I was like 30 or 31, but I'm just like, no one would sell to me. So I'm just like stealing wine. It's like I had money and I was old enough, but I just like, yeah, couldn't figure out how to get myself an ID. So just constantly stealing wine and waiting.
Seems like wine is way easier to steal than I realized. Like, what's the strategy when you're stealing wine?
I mean, it's like, you know, it's stronger than beer and it's, you can.
No, I mean, how easy is it to steal?
Well, I'm white, so nobody suspects anything. So I just like, I would either grab what I wanted and just like walk out the door visibly holding it.
Yeah.
Or I would shove it down my pants or shove it in my boots and then just walk out.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
So stealing wine's pretty easy.
Stealing wine is pretty easy. I mean, if it was like the type of place that had liquor out on the shelf, I'd be stealing liquor. And then, I mean, sometimes I stole beer. I would just like walk in and like grab 30 and just walk out. But, you know, when it's like drinking isn't fun anymore, it's a fucking job. Like I have to get a certain amount fucked up or I'm going to fucking lose it.
Did you ever go into DTs?
No, not officially. No, I had psychosis and I definitely was like so uncomfortable whenever I was like withdrawing or whatever, like painfully, intensely uncomfortable. But no, I don't think I ever like officially had DTs.
Well, that's good. And you really are like, it's funny because somebody wrote me recently that we never have true alcoholics on. And here you came like a bolt from the blue.
Hello, I'm a true alcoholic. Anyway, yeah, so I was just waiting for my DUI court date, but super strung out, living in a cold shack, doing post-season work at the blueberry farm. Nothing to do, no friends, just like trying to get fucked up enough that I wasn't so fucking uncomfortable. And then someone in my family, I forget exactly who it was like, "Oh, our dad is sick and your brother's going to come bring you home." And I was like, what do they mean? Like, what do they mean dad's sick? Like, I was like, if he's dead, just tell me. Like, what do you mean he's sick? And my brother's going to come get me and bring me home. Like, what's actually fucking happening? Right. And then what I realize now is that my family was worried if they just told me my dad was dead that I was going to like spin out and disappear because I've spun out and disappeared like quite often.
Had he died?
Yeah. My brother showed up and he was like, "Dad died." And I was like, why did you guys just fucking tell me? But I guess one day he just like had a heart attack and laid down and died. He was 63 and like he seemed pretty healthy. Other than that, he like, you know, jogged and ate kale salad and it was like a huge fucking shock. But so
were you close with him?
Yeah. Yeah. And that was like my detox center. That was where I would go all throughout my 20s when I was like, oh, I got to get my life back on track. I'd go to my dad's house. It was like out in the country. It was a house I grew up in. We'd like eat vegetables out of the garden and be really wholesome and shit. And yeah, it was like the place that I went to like feel okay, you know? But yeah, he just like fell over and died. My brother picked me up and then drove me back to Wisconsin and we did the whole funeral and shit. And then my brother drove me back to Maine because my car was out there and I was like, and it was still before my DUI court date. And I was like, holy shit, like I could have went back to Wisconsin and like had a nice time and then come back out here for my court date instead of just like living in this cold shack, like drunk for a month or 6 weeks or however long it was. But went to my DUI court date, had a public defender, and I fucking got the DUI anyway. I was like, I was in a parked car. Like I wasn't driving under the influence. I was parked, you know, but I don't know. They don't give a shit. But my dad dying was like the thing, like the light switch moment that actually like changed something in my brain. Cause I was like, whoa, like this whole time I've just been like floundering and focusing on my own suffering and thinking that like living life was just impossible. It brought me out of that. And I was like, oh, wow, like the whole rest of the world is here and people who love me exist and people who love me can like poof, just like disappear like at a moment's notice. And it like reconnected this string in my brain like back to the universe in this way that like had been lost for so long. And yeah, it's
really amazing how that can be. Like I had something similar happen when my mom died. I didn't get sober right away, but it was the first real moment, like, what the fuck am I doing kind of thing.
Yeah. It's so weird when that happened. But I also didn't get sober immediately, but I like started reading books like This Naked Mind by Annie Grace, and started listening to podcasts like Recovery Elevator that Paul Churchill hosts. And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna like
Not Dopey though.
not
Annie
Dopey.
Grace and Paul Churchill.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Annie Grace came on Dopey once.
Did she?
Yeah.
Oh, funny.
It wasn't great.
She's a wine mom, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, I like was dabbling, right? I had like hope. I was dabbling. I would like go to yoga class, but sometimes I would like go to yoga class and then get out of yoga class and be like, I feel great. I'm just going to drink a bottle of white wine on my drive home.
Right.
So it was like moments, but there was like a shift. There was like a noticeable shift where I was like, something changed. And I mean, I guess I skipped over. I don't even remember when I went to AA and did the 12 steps, but at some point during that whole 13 years of trying to quit drinking, I was like, I'm going to try AA. And I like did the whole 12 steps. But like every time I went to a meeting, I felt like shit. The further and further along I got in the 12 steps, I felt like more and more and more shit. And I like had a therapist at the time. The therapist was like, why do you keep doing this thing? It makes you feel bad. And I was like, well, you know how like kids are supposed to eat their broccoli even though they don't like it? I was like, maybe this shit is my broccoli and that it's going to make me healthier and eventually I'll feel better. But as it turned out, I just never fucking did. I always felt worse.
So where does Recovery Demystified get born? It's like with 12 step, the thing I heard, and I heard it on Dopey years and years ago, before Chris died, which was a woman who Chris was friends with, said you go to AA until you like it. And I like that. And it's a lot like eat your vegetables. It's exactly like that. So and it worked for me, and it doesn't work for everybody. But I guess what I'm finding out the longer I stay sober and the longer I do a podcast like this is it doesn't need to be AA or NA or whatever, CA or a 12-step program. It doesn't even need to be a program, but it's really hard if it's not anything.
Yeah.
That's a really hard kind of recovery program is nothing.
Yeah. And that was my, like, quitting drinking for that long. That was my recovery program. It was like, I should be able to quit. I should be able to stop if I just try harder. Like willpower should be strong enough, and it never fucking was. And it was because I like didn't have a process or a program or anything like that. And like, it's interesting because when AA works for people, and NA and whatever, 12 step, when 12 step works for people, one of the things it teaches you is that this works for everyone. And so when people end up, like when that resonates with them, they find it hard to believe that other things work for other people. And it's like a hill that they have to overcome because that's one of the like teachings of it. But it does not in fact work for everyone. And it's okay if it doesn't work for people. And we need like a million more different things. And what makes Recovery Demystified different is like, we're super cool with harm reduction. Like if you smoke weed or if you take Suboxone or whatever, like that's totally chill. And like a lot of 12-step places, they're like, you have to be in continuous sobriety from like the moment that you quit. And if you're sober for, if you get your 6-month chip and you go back out, you're back to square one. Like you're starting over, like the fucking 6 months never existed. But we're just like, relapse is a normal part of the process. And like, if you go back out and use the thing you're addicted to, like, don't fucking beat yourself up and, just like try again or whatever.
But who's the we? Who's the we in Recovery Demystified?
I mean, it's my brainchild, but people have been enjoying it. It's the royal we, I guess.
So what do you do? Like, because I know there's a ton of people in the Dopey community who are tired of me proselytizing Alcoholics Anonymous, and like they're not interested in it. And like we do this whole Dopey Zoom thing where there's a ton of people who are still using, and people who are not interested in 12-step recovery, but are interested in recovery and are interested in community and are interested in some sort of spirituality in some form. And it seems like Recovery Demystified might like it.
Yeah. I mean, the main overarching theme is like, we learn how to trust ourselves again, and we learn how to follow our own intuition. Because it's like when you have an addiction, you lose the sense of trust with yourself, and you also lose your sense of intuition. And like the intuition in a human is this like magical thing inside of us that tells us what we need. And if you can reconnect back to your own sense of trusting yourself and your own intuition by like exploring your internal landscape and like learning like how to love yourself and like finding what makes you feel actually good and connected to other people and the earth as like a living creature, then you're empowered, right? Like one of the things that bothers me at AA is like my own best thinking got me here, or stinking thinking, or whatever. And you learned it specifically, you're taught to not trust yourself, which is why you have to give your power over to something that is like.
But the funniest thing, it's all it's all semantical, because it's like I hear you saying what you just said, and it's like you're talking about your truest self, and and that's language in 12 steps too. It's like and then a lot of people who can't trust themselves, or like all the bullshit fucking cliches, whatever. It's like if you actually find higher power, it's I think it's what you're talking about within yourself. You described it so perfectly, actually. Human intuition is this magical thing. It's exactly the same thing that 12 steps describes as higher power. But the point is, it doesn't matter. Like it's like one man's ceiling is another man's floor kind of thing. It doesn't matter if it's inside us or outside of us. What matters is we find the thing that makes us feel good about ourselves.
Totally. Yeah, I completely agree with that. But it's like, sometimes it's like the way that you get there or the way that you explain it. And even if it is like semantics, it just, everything is something. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
When someone's like, admit you're powerless and give your power over to something higher than you, I'm like, fuck you, I'm out of here. And that's real. And you can say, well, that's not what we mean. You know what I mean? But if someone comes into like a Recovery Demystified group and we're like, let's learn how to understand our thought patterns. Let's learn how to understand what emotions feel like in the body. Let's do experiments in our life where we go out and try different things, and then we ask ourselves how we feel afterwards. And if you go out and you fucking try bowling and you're like, man, I feel fucking cool. I love bowling. Holy shit.
Amazing.
Yeah. Then maybe you go bowling now. You know what I mean? So it's more about like this sense, like at 12 step, you literally say I'm powerless. And at Recovery Demystified, you work towards a sense of empowerment. You work towards a sense of like your own self-confidence. You know what I mean?
Listen, I think I do know what you mean. And I think, again, like I never imagined becoming somebody who was a 12-step person. Like I was a big fuck you person also. I think I think I looked at it like I have to eat my vegetables. And then all of a sudden I got really into these other things within it that weren't limiting, and that I felt like I needed to fucking chill the fuck out. Like I was too defiant. I was too me. So fuck you. And it didn't serve me. But like, honestly, I think it's really exciting. Any kind of like plan that helps somebody feel good in some way. Like I'm not interested. Like, just like we all react to whatever we react to, and something is going to be palatable and something isn't. I think with AA, the thing that was so palatable to me was how many people it worked for, how accessible it was, how free it was, how all I had to do was show up and do these things. And I was like, and I was fucked up. You know, I was down because things were really bad. And so it worked. But there's so many people that I'm friends with that it doesn't work for them. And like, if they can find a path that makes them feel good about themselves and how they're feeling, and that their recovery is actually demystified, it's like, I'm all about it. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. And another thing about personally, my recovery, during the first like calendar year that I was like in continuous long-term sobriety and not secretly drinking and not lying, was a little bit after my dad died. I went back and forth a little bit that first year, but I literally started taking kratom because one of my besties did, and it took the edge off of my like anxiety and my fear to the point where I took kratom all day, every day for a calendar year. And I think that saved my life. And if I would have gone to 12 step and been like, well, I'm sober of alcohol, but I'm on kratom, they'd be like, you're not really sober. You don't get to take any chips. And, you know, like it's so strict. And I'm not saying like overall, like I want 12-step to exist exactly as it exists everywhere. It's free. Like it's so available to people. Like I don't think it's bad and I don't want it to stop. But just as much as your story of it working for you is like so valid and so important, the story of it not working for me is equally valid and equally important. You know what I mean?
100%. And like you're here with time
Mm-hmm.
and a plan, you know, and it's like, I think that it's like religious zealots who read something about a message and decide that every other way is wrong because they're not following their way. And not only is every other way wrong, we're going to demonize them and then kill them, you know, as opposed to like the tenet is love and tolerance. And like people don't observe the tenet. And it's like, so what, you know, I think with Dopey, like when we started it, I was on the fence around other paths because they didn't work for me. And I was so self-centered in my thinking around it. And then after Chris died, it just became obvious that like I can't look, if I look at it that way, it's gonna hurt me and it's gonna hurt other people, and I don't want to be about that. So I validate your not accepting 12-step, and I validate I love that you created something. And how much do you think creating something has been helpful to your personal recovery?
It's great. I'm like massively accountable now. Like the more dug in I get, the more people expect a newsletter every Friday and a podcast episode every Tuesday. And for me to show up to our support group every Monday, that means for 3 days a week, I have to show up for people and be doing my best. So, I mean, I started it after I was already like 4 or 5 years in continuous sobriety. So, like I was already pretty much set, but I just like got so sick of all of my friends dying and being like, we need to do something else. Like I needed something else. We need something else. Like, let's fucking do something else. And I actually like went and did a few like ayahuasca retreats and had, you know, mind shattering experiences of healing doing that. And when I got back from the first one, I was like, fuck it. Like I'm not afraid anymore. And I'm just going to fucking start this thing that I know that we need, that everyone that sees that word God in the 12 steps who runs it back out into the street, like instead of running out into the street to their drug dealer, like they can run to Recovery Demystified instead. You know, I was like, I'm fucking ready. Like I'm doing this shit.
See, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking like with Dopey, like whenever Dopey doesn't do well, like as a show, like how do I create some kind of program for people that are scared of God? Like I had the exact same thought. And then I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to figure that out, you know? So I'm glad you are figuring it out. And it's really about like, it's just about like taking care of each other. And what did you learn on ayahuasca?
I guess I learned about like being present and grateful for my existence. And like, I don't know. I was reading this book when I just got back from Peru again a couple of weeks ago, and I was reading this book that I was there that said, why were you born a human and not a chair? And I was like, that just like shattered my mind at that moment. I was like, oh my God, I was born a fucking human and not a chair, because like I can perceive all of the like immense and interesting pain and beauty in this world. And I know so much, and I'm like so connected that I like have the ability to speak up and to say the things that people need in order to help themselves. And I have so much to share. And that's why I was born a human and not a chair.
Well, I wonder who's born a chair, though, is the question.
I guess a tree at some point.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Anything else early before we go?
I mean, do you want to hear about when I was an EMT, or are we got too much going on here?
I think we've hit our
Okay.
What happened when you were an EMT? How dare you do this to me?
I'm sorry. I mean, there's just like a couple of crazy stories from when I was an EMT, because before I started Recovery Demystified, I thought I wanted to help people. So I went to school and became an EMT. But speaking of huffing shit and people not talking about huffing.
So you became an EMT in recovery.
I feel like there's a duster epidemic. Do you ever talk to anyone at House Duster?
Not a lot.
No,
But Duster's cheap.
Yeah, there'd be like there's people all the time fucking crashing their cars because they're blacking out on Duster. People dying all the time. One of the first dead bodies that I saw was someone that died huffing Duster. And I'm like, I've talked to a lot of people on recovery about recovery and heard a lot of different interviews on recovery podcasts. And I'm like, we need to talk about inhalants and like let people know that if they have an inhalant addiction, that they don't have to keep it a secret. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of shame, I think, around inhalants.
Yeah.
You never did them besides poppers and whippets, though.
Poppers and whippets, yeah, but it was pretty serious when I did
We
it.
had
like,
a
it was an
couple.
issue.
We had a couple of Duster people, but not enough.
Yeah.
Dopey Nation, if you have ever had an iteration of your drug use with Duster, please send in some material to dopeypodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess I got a million different stories from being an EMT, but that's just one of the things that stood out. But
then how does the community find Recovery Demystified?
Well, it's just Recovery Demystified is the name of the podcast. Instagram and Substack are both at Recovery Demystified. And then the website's recoverydemystified.com. And I love getting emails from humans that aren't robots, they're like emails that aren't written by AI.
Yeah.
So if you're a real human and you want to talk about this kind of shit and you think that Recovery Demystified sounds cool, the email's info@recoverydemystified.com.
I bet you hear from some humans and maybe some really cool robots, but we'll find out. And thank you, Early, for coming. And please stay in touch. I think Recovery Demystified could be a great addition to Dopey Nation in general. I think the people could really benefit.
Totally. Yeah. Thanks for letting me talk for 2 fucking hours or whatever just happened. I'm about to lose my voice.
You did good. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Bye.